Welcome to Long Beach, California. In 1975, City Fathers okayed street racing here and forever changed the landscape of American racing. Today, after a grueling 12-hour season opener in Florida, the American Le Mans Series comes to Long Beach for the 6th time. The two events are separated by much more than the 35 days and the 2,600 miles between them. They are worlds apart. Gone are the car-busting, bump-riddled concrete runways. They are replaced by nerve-testing concrete walls. Gone is the breathtaking, full-speed, sweeping turn one. That is replaced by the arm-wrenching, brake-testing hairpin. Sebring's eccentric fans may be missing, but they are replaced by the finest in Southern California glitterati. The legendary 12-hour test of man, machine, and team is replaced with a 120-minute flat-out sprint with no margin for error. The test of Long Beach starts now. In 2 hours, we'll find out who has failed and who has passed with flying colors. ESPN and the American Le Mans Series welcome you to coverage of round 2 of the 2013 season, the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Long Beach. Over 200,000 people flock to Long Beach, California every year for the Grand Prix, and for the 7th consecutive season, the American Le Mans Series competitors are here as well. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till. Welcome to today's coverage. The 2013 season started in Sebring, Florida with a 12-hour endurance contest. And we have now moved literally across the country to one of the shortest races that the competitors will see all year long, only 2 hours long. What does that mean for a 2013 season championship? Well, it means this. If you scored good points at Sebring, you want to protect them here at Long Beach. But if you didn't score well at Sebring, you need to attack and get back in the championship fight. You've got to go for it. But one mistake, one miscalculation, and these concrete walls can not only put you out of the race, but out of the season championship. 5 different classes of cars competing here this weekend and throughout the season. One of those classes is P1, and one of our P1 competitors at Sebring had problems, Dyson Racing. But they are fighting back here at Long Beach, and for more on their story, here's Jamie Howe.
Dyson Racing have a nothing-to-lose attitude here in round 2 after not scoring any season-long championship points in round 1. But during the only 2-hour practice session, a fuel injector problem caused a fire and an engine change in the number 16 Mazda-powered Lola. The team made quick work of it, put the car back together, but during qualifying on the last lap, Guy Smith was so confident he pushed a little too hard and ended up in the tire barrier. So Guy, as we head into the race, what condition is this car in?
Yeah, the car's fully back together now, and just pushing very hard there in qualifying. The team gave me a great car, got the car back together after the small fire earlier on in the day, and we had a lap going that was quite a bit faster and just got a little bit greedy. But I'm very confident with the way the car's performing for today's race, and hopefully we can get the car up the front.
Guy Smith will line up second on the grid. For more on GT, here's Kelly Stavis.
The two SRT Vipers made their debut midway through the season last year, but it seemed they had issues at just about every turn and at every racetrack. So the team has been hard at work during the offseason, making improvements from nose to tail, and it appears to be paying off. The 91 car finished 5th at the season opener, and it was Viper driver Dominic Farnbacher who led the GT field en route to a new qualifying lap record here at Long Beach. So, Dominic, it seems like this car is miles ahead of where it was last year. Where do you feel the biggest improvements?
We definitely did a lot of improvements in the suspension area. So we did a lot of work on the shaker rig throughout the season, in the winter season, and we also improved the car in aerodynamics, so that really helped us to get the car very quickly through all those high-speed corners, and it really paid off, and everybody of the whole crew of SRT Motorsport is very happy, and now we try to bring that result we achieved in qualifying onto the race.
The Vipers will start 1st and 3rd today. Thanks, Dominic.
Thank you.
Well, we've heard from drivers from 2 of the classes of cars that compete in the American Le Mans Series, but remember there are 5 different classes on the racetrack at the same time. 3 different prototype classes, Prototype 1 and Prototype 2, the fastest, most high-tech machines that you will see. And then the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category, all of the chassis identical, the identical Continental tires. It's up to the teams and drivers to maximize their car. In GT, pick a high-tech sports car that you want to drive. It competes in the GT category. Porsches, Corvettes, Ferraris, and more. And in GT Challenge, all of the cars identical 911 GT3 Cup machines with Yokohama tires. Now, the drivers not only fight each other, they fight the racetrack each weekend. John Hindhaugh has more.
Do you know, here at Long Beach, indeed on any street circuit, we always talk about small mistakes out on the track having really big consequences. And of course, that's very true when the concrete is so close. It's also true down here on pit lane. That might sound strange when we're talking about one of our shortest races of the year, particularly coming off Sebring, where most of the teams up and down pit road probably did 12 or 13 pit stops. But here you've got to be perfect, tactically and technically, because you've only got one chance to make the difference perhaps between winning and losing. Now, let's get back out onto the track and something that's always very difficult to get around here at Long Beach, the hairpin.
For every single corner around the world, there's only 3 things that a race car driver needs to know. Number 1, this is a turning point. That part of the corner where a driver steers into the corner. Number 2 is the apex. That's the part of the corner where a driver is closest to the inside. And number 3 is the exit. That's where their hands come straight. And of these 3, it's the apex that's the most important, because if a driver is nice and tight to their apex, it allows them to go to the throttle, accelerate, be fast. But if they're 3-4 feet wide, you can't go to the gas, you're going to be slow. So those guys that are doing well here at Long Beach, that are winning, getting on the podium, they're going to be nice and tight to their apex, because they know that you can cheat on your taxes, you can cheat on your diet, but never cheat on your apex.
Thanks, Johnny. And remember, the season started in Sebring, Florida. Now we're on the West Coast, just south of Los Angeles. Take a look here using Google Maps at this Long Beach circuit. It's run here for 39 years. Prototype driver Guy Cosmo is going to give us a look at the concrete canyons of Long Beach.
Welcome to the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Long Beach. I'm Guy Cosmo from Extreme Speed Motorsports. I'm going to show you around this course. We are at Long Beach, baby. As we come down the famous front stretch and Shoreline Drive, we've got a great passing opportunity going into turn 1. However, drivers are not allowed to cross this red line, whether we're on track or whether we're leaving pit lane. A lot of drivers got penalized last year and it ruined the outcome of their race. When I think of Long Beach, I think of this very picturesque and beautiful fountain turn. Very pretty to look at, but it could really bite you. Really narrow section, a quick left, right, left, and if you're not single file, you're going to wind up eating the wall over here, and it's happened quite a bit in the past few races. As we come down the long back straight and approach turn 9, we've got another very good passing opportunity here, but a very bumpy brake zone, which could lead drivers to making mistakes, and a very slippery corner. When you get to the apex and track out, you notice we've got a different set of asphalt here. Very smooth versus a little bit more porous on the rest of the course. Here we are at the tightest and slowest corner in all of racing, the hairpin at Long Beach. Could really become a traffic jam. It's very tight. We are at maximum steering angle in the center, but the most important part is getting in right and getting out right. You've got to get to full throttle as soon as possible to get a good launch, otherwise you're going to get passed on the front straight.
And as you can see from those onboard shots, we call them concrete canyons because this entire racetrack lined with concrete. When we come back, a mix of the world's sleekest prototypes and GT cars will be looking for the green to start the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Deltran Battery Tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
Rated E for everyone.
We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The 911. Porsche identity.
Doc? Doc? Goose!
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us here at the second round of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. I'm Greg Creamer. Joining me in the booth will be Jeremy Shaw. And folks, this race can be described by a series of P's. The first one is prestige. That's obvious. It's Long Beach, the legendary roar by the shore. The second one, Jeremy, is pressure.
Absolutely, because they've got minimal track time this weekend. Generally, the teams and drivers will have 2 practice sessions before they go into qualifying. Yesterday, however, they were the street sweepers, the first race cars on this race track in 364 days. So they're cleaning up the track, and then they go directly into qualifying yesterday afternoon. Normally, there's a race day warm-up. Not so this weekend. It's straight into the race.
The third one might well be something counterintuitive to a race car driver. Patience. Doors close as quick as they open in multi-class traffic here at the beach.
And there's a fourth P as well. That would be pit stops. Strategy is going to be so important this afternoon. It's a 2-hour race, the shortest race on the schedule, and when they make their pit stops, it's going to be absolutely crucial.
And because of all of that, there are great stories in all 5 of the classes. And right now, Kelly Stavis is standing by with our pole qualifier in Continental Prototype Challenge. Kelly?
Bruno Junqueira is our pole sitter for Prototype Challenge. He did it in record time. But Bruno, there are 5 cars within a second of each other in your class. So outside of that speed, what is it going to take to win here today?
It's a very competitive class, and it's a street track, so you have to stay out of the walls, bring the car in one piece in the end of the race. But it's a short race for us, 2 hours, so we have to drive really hard to get a good result.
Well, we have yet another pole sitter in qualifying time. That's in GTC, and Jamie is there.
And that pole sitter is Jerome Bleckemolen from Alex Job Racing. Jerome, I know you wanted to get that pole. It's important here in the streets of Long Beach. What does it mean?
Yeah, it could mean a lot here. I mean, it's a short race. It's hard to overtake here, so hopefully it'll help us to have a better chance to win. But you never know. It's a tough race. A lot will happen. A lot can happen. So we'll see what happens.
His co-driver Cooper McNeil will take the green flag.
Thank you very much, Jamie. And we have seen that if you can be up front here in qualifying on this race, and you can drive well, you can hang on from the point. It is that tough sometimes to work through traffic. That makes for some fascinating racing. And as you can see, the cars are out, and on that pace and parade lap, Jeremy Shaw, we are about ready to go racing here. What are you expecting to see here in this opening couple of laps?
A good old-fashioned street fight. It's going to be tremendous. What's going to be interesting, though, is for the Pro-Am classes, that it would be P2 and PC and right. GTC. It's generally the slower of the 2 drivers that starts the race. It was the fastest guy in each car that did the qualifying. So we're going to see a lot of shuffling in the middle of the pack. We're going to see some cars going backwards in the early stage of the race, others moving forward. However, in the middle of all of that, in the GT teams, you know, the GT class, that's all pro drivers. Right. They are all capable of running the same sort of speed. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling going on. And as you said earlier on, Greg, patience is what it's going to be all about, and then the timing of those pit stops.
Yeah, that's going to be crucial. We're going to show you the starting grid across the top of the screen. If you've got a favorite driver or team, pick them out and take a look, cheer for them. They're going to be putting on a great show today. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what that third place qualifier overall and in P1, the Muscle Milk Picket Racing, HPD is going to be able to do in the early going. Talked to Lucas Luhr a bit earlier. He said the problem they had was way too much understeer, and then they got balked a little bit late on that final lap. And he said, as they get into this race with more rubber being laid down from these cars, he said, we think that car might just come alive for us.
Yeah, I spoke to Brandon Fry, the race engineer of the Muscle Milk team, and he said, yeah, it was his mistake in qualifying. They changed the car from the practice session until qualifying. The conditions were quite different. It was very cool in the morning. It was quite hot in the afternoon. And he said, you know, it was my mistake. I know better than that. I really shouldn't have made all those changes to the car. But this is going to be a fascinating motor race. And that Dyson car, it's got a sort of second string engine, if you like, but they're competitive this weekend.
Absolutely. And you saw us cycling through a number of our great onboards. We're going to give you as we go green. Round 2 of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron is underway. The roar by the shore comes to life in force. And this big field hammering down. Here's that turn 1 area. And look at this. The Rebellion team almost out-dragged down the front straight, but deep into that first turn. A couple of people look like they may have run a little wide. We'll see if they made it through. And now into that fountain complex that Guy Cosmo was taking us a turn through. You see how close to that wall on the left side that they run. And look at this. Already the Muscle Milk car is right there. Lucas Luhr is going after it early.
But it was a sort of relatively quiet start there from Lucas Luhr. I expected him to be all over the front row contenders going into turn 1. He wasn't, but it was a good clean start. And certainly Chris Dyson there got a great jump in that car number 16, a little Lola Maz in second place. But now Lucas Luhr looking to the inside. He's not able to make that pass there.
Not quite on board now with Lucas Luhr as he's trying for that second spot overall. Dyson right up in front of him, and up front Neil Johnny in the Rebellion Toyota Lola is making good an escape. He has opened up a pretty substantial margin here this first few corners. Now heading in for the first time in anger, the hairpin.
It's the first time that Rebellion Racing has raced here on the streets of Long Beach. It's not the first time that Neil Johnny has raced here. In 2007, he was in a champ car race, so he has good experience here. He loves this racetrack, he loves the atmosphere, and that was a great first lap from Neil Johnny.
Yeah, and it looked like Lucas got a great exit out of the hairpin as we hop on board the number 3 Corvette, and that is Antonio Garcia behind the wheel of this CompuWare Corvette. Down through this bending shoreline, just off to the right there is the pit lane. You can see some of the awning set up to protect the crews from this absolutely glorious Southern California sunshine. Oh, big overrun down into turn 1. That is one of the BMWs from Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, the number 55 entry, just way too high.
Okay, let's get it straightened out here and get back to it. No problem, let's go.
Trying to get it turned around. And back on track, but boy, he just lost precious track position here on the straights. Let's check in with Jamie Howe down at pit lane.
I talked to Maxime Martin just before the race about not being here before. It is his first ever street race, not just at Long Beach. He said it's completely different than anything he's ever experienced. And before the green flag fell, he only had about 10 laps. So he said he was still trying to get comfortable. His co-driver, Bill Oberlin, had been helping him throughout the weekend, but clearly he still is not quite up to terms with this racetrack.
Thanks very much, and as you see now, Lucas Luhr, I saw he really looked to get a great exit out of the hairpin, and he is now around Dyson up into that second spot and is opening that margin up just a little bit here. The question is, can he make up? There you see the margin to your leader, Neil Johnny. At this point, let's go back and take a look at how he made the pass. Watch it right here. Oh, a little bump and go there between the two of them. You can see a little bit of damage on the right rear corner of the Dyson Mazda Lola. Oh, and it's got that little diffuser straight as bent. Let's see how that works. Another look at it here. Just kind of cut down underneath it.
Yeah, it's a kind of fantastic over-under, I think. He's pushed the dive down the inside there into turn 6, which is not a normal overtaking pace. It's a very brave move down there, and he ran a little bit wide, and Dyson got back alongside him on that drag race towards turn 8, but he just held on. A great pass by Lucas Luhr, but already a 4-second deficit P2, Neil Jarni, in that Rebellion Lola Toyota. Look, you can't even see him there.
Yeah, and I think that's why Lucas was so intent on getting by right now, because he was seeing that Rebellion just disappearing.
Yeah, right. And Chris Dyson here hasn't come up to speed quick enough. He needs to get up to speed. He's not found the speed in the car yet, and he's got some damage. So a double whammy for Dyson Racing.
Well, one of the things that they were talking about, Dyson, is they were a little worried that it would take their tires a little longer to come up to temperature, which also affects the pressure in the tires, which affects the spring rates in the car. So they said it might take us a few more laps. Interesting to see. Maybe that's what's playing out here.
Yeah, that's exactly right, I think, because they too had suffered from understeer in qualifying. And the muscle milk car, they took the opportunity to come into the pits during qualifying, bleed off a little bit of air pressure out of the tires to get them into their optimal working range, and then tried to set a lap at the end of the session. Unfortunately, Lucas Luhr got blocked by a slower car on that final lap, so he was really not a happy camper at the end of all that. He didn't get the lap time out of it that he knew was in the car, was very frustrated. Dyson Racing, they'd already made a stop during that session because they changed engines after the first practice session on Friday morning, so they had to do an installation lap first of all just to make sure everything was okay, come into the pits, check all the systems over, and then go out again. So they couldn't really afford to come into the pits one more time.
Here's a look at that great hairpin as the cars are heading into it, and there is the margin up to the leader, Neil Jarni, in the Rebellion Toyota. There is Chris Dyson bringing again, it's a Mazda Lola, running the turbo power plant in that car. Thetford and Norco, the sponsors on that machine. And this car, which I think is one of the prettiest looking race cars you're ever going to find. Not just the shape of the car itself, but the scheme that they run on it. And even though both of the drivers in this car have street track experience, certainly Nick Heidfeld has run at a place called Monaco a few times, this is the team's first street race for these cars.
Yeah.
So we came here, we had absolutely no data, no information on this place. Just threw a setting on it, and they ended up pretty close. Both drivers were just effusive in what that team and that engineering program were able to do, Jeremy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Greg, and they were surprised too, had to be how competitive they were. But you know, they got a race on their hands now because Lucas Luhr, he's the track record holder here for P1 cars. He set that back in the Audi R10 TDI back in 2008, the fastest ever race lap in a P1 car, actually a P2 car in those days before they changed the rules. It was even quicker than the P1 cars. But so Lucas Luhr knows his way around here. He and Klaus Graf have won this race the last 2 years. Honda, HPD have won this race the last 4 years. So yeah, they've got that combination there. They're running in second place at the moment. They're 4 seconds behind, but last time around it was Lucas Luhr that set the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:13.879 seconds, a couple of tenths quicker than Neil Jarni, but they're still 4 seconds behind. They've got to make up that deficit sometime. They've got plenty of time to do it.
He trimmed some of it, to be sure, but right now we are looking at a great run here as we're watching the 0-1 of Guy Cosmo, who had qualified a little bit back of the number 551 Prototype 2 category car, the P2 entry of Scott Tucker, the Alpino Watches HPD ARX 03B. He has been able to make up some ground working through some of the PC cars that the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge cars that had qualified up in front, and Guy is starting to close in now and maybe taking a look, making this battle. There you see it. There is your P2 leader, the black number 551 right there, and just 2 cars back with 1 Continental Tire Prototype Challenge car in between is Guy Cosmo in the Patron HPD ARX 03B. This is going to get interesting.
Yeah, and hats off here to John Bennett there in the leading PC car. He's doing a fine job. He's just second place in PC, isn't it? Because Duncan Dender is out in front a little bit in the RSR car. But John Bennett, he struggled at Sebring. There was a close friend of his was critically ill at the time. His sort of mind was distracted from his racing. Didn't have a good opening stint at Sebring and just struggled the whole weekend long. But now he's got his head. You know, he's in a much better frame of mind mentally. He's able to focus on what he's doing. Oh dear, it's one of the Dempsey Del Piero cars around. But John Bennett doing a fine job in the early stages, second place in PC.
Yeah, that's Mike Avenatti right there. Just had it go around on him down in turn 1. And fortunately, some great evasive driving by a lot of the oncoming traffic. He's got a problem. Yeah, something wrong there. Meanwhile, here is that battle now in P2. This is going to be fascinating. Bennett right there. And you're right, you know, the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category is one of those Pro-Am classes. And John, very astute amateur level driver, and staying this close to a guy like Guy Cosmo, this is pretty impressive.
It is. It's interesting that we got the PC cars and the P2 cars. The P2 cars are certainly more sophisticated. They've got much higher technology, but the PC cars have a lot of torque around here, and that's what the P2 cars don't have. They're 2.8-litre twin-turbo Honda engines in those HPD cars. The PC cars are running with the Chevy small block engine, the LS3 engine, and they've got plenty of torque coming off the corners, and that's what you need on a track such as Long Beach, is torque to get the cars off the corners. So the PC cars are very quick around here.
And there we saw maybe what happened just real quick. Number 10, Avenatti, actually got a little bit of help right in front of our overall race leader, Neil Johnny, in the Rebellion Toyota. Hard to throw moment. This right here, folks, is the battle for the P2 category lead. Scott Tucker in the Alpina Watches Siemens entry. Right behind him, Guy Cosmo in the Patron. Both of these cars virtually identical cars, and this is just down to a straight up battle right now. And Tucker got off of that hairpin pretty well. Looks like he's got just enough in hand maybe to be able to hang on down into turn 1.
Absolutely, and he's not quite close enough to make a move down the inside. Scott Tucker there just to keep it nice, clean a line around there. Scott Tucker's come on an awful long way the last couple of years. Of course he should do, because he drives just about everything under the sun, but he does work. You know, he's not a professional driver by any means, nor does he claim to be, but he does work very hard to make himself the best he can be.
Back into the GT ranks, and this is incredible. You know, just to give you a little stat here, folks, in the GT, the top 8 were covered by less than 0.7 of a second. It is just that furious. As we hop on board with Brian Sellers here, the Team Falcon Tire entry, currently running 4th. Had a great qualifying run, Brian did. Put that car up in 2nd. Yeah, that was a great run. The Falcon Tire's car's been, Avenatti again, still having problems trying to get that car back to the pits. Looks like the right side tires are okay, but I wonder about the left rear. I think that might be down. It looks like he's getting himself out of the way, so it might be the end of the day for that car. But just talking about the GT cars, getting how close it was in qualifying, you were saying, and Townsend Bell ended up qualifying 9th. He was P1 in the first 2 or 3 laps of the session for the Alex Job Racing Boardwalk Team AGR, number 23 Ferrari. We go back here. This is some of the action at the start. Look at that. That was a 93, the Pennzoil Ultra Viper. Well, he actually grazed the tires. Forced Sellers way wide. Cost Seller not only a spot, but some momentum to be sure. And here's another look at it. Oh, boom.
It's a bit...
that was close. And then you see the Corvette going by.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Stewards are going to be able to look at that one, I think, over the next few laps. But yeah, that's the sort of battling we knew it was going to be. Look at the number 48 car. Oh, this was at the beginning of the race.
Start, yeah, coming up to the green. But the rules are when the green flies at start finish, the track is green. That was a very opportunistic move back there by Bryce Miller.
And that number 48 car is fast this weekend. It qualified on the back of the field, but Marco Holzer was actually quickest, I think, in the first practice session on Friday morning. Quickest of all the GT cars. Unfortunately, in qualifying, they had a problem with a wheel rim. It let out all the air, and so they didn't get a representative time in qualifying. Had to start at the back, but that is a very fast car this weekend, that number 48 car for Paul Miller Racing.
You saw that number 8, that's one of the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge cars, the number 8, Chris Cumming, the Bar 1 Motorsports, having a capital entry. Just a little too hot down into turn 1, getting that righted. And look at this now. We have under attack is our class-leading GT Viper. That is the number 91 of Mark Goosens, but Antonio Garcia, the number 3 CompuWare Corvette, who we are on board with here, is hunting right now. He's snake hunting. He is, Garcia is something else. And he just loves running here at Long Beach. And the team, the number 93, has gone around. There's damage to that right rear corner. We're just speculating, but maybe he got a little oomph.
Maybe he did. It's been a fantastic battle between these guys, and it's been pretty muscular, hasn't it? That racing in the early stages. He's going to have to do a complete 3-point turn here. Is Kuno Whitmer, and boy, that's going to cost him a lot. Oh no, problems for Charlie Shears as well. That's a Performance Tech Motorsports car. He was running well in the early stages, in 4th place in the class, but he's got a lot of damage to the front end.
Here's the other part of it.
Yeah, there's the rest of it.
Oh, boy. Tough break, yeah. Oh, that's Chris Cumming, actually. That's that Evan Capital entry.
I'm sorry, I just saw the blues there.
I was with you.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Obviously, sans nose, we really couldn't tell for a minute. But Chris, we saw him have that runoff, and maybe, you know, he bumped something, obviously, and it loosened up the nose clip. Oh, look at this. And a try by Garcia around the outside into a crucial corner. That's turn 8. That's the launch onto the second longest straight on this track. and leads you down into what, as Guy Cosmo told us earlier, that great overtaking area, but a very bumpy braking approach into this turn 9. And Antonio just didn't get enough of a run to give it a go.
No, but he's had a good opening stint here as Antonio Garcia. Started 4th place in the class, now up into 2nd place, and as you see, putting the pole-winning Viper under intense pressure coming off the hairpin along to Shoreline Drive.
And that is another of those Continental Tire Prototype Challenge cars right in front of them. You talked about, or Jeremy did, the fact that all the drivers caution, no doubt, for that piece of bodywork from the number 8 machine. And that's going to change things up, although it will bunch this field up again and make it interesting. But as you said, all of the drivers in these GT cars are top-flight, world-class professional drivers, and racing against, right now, as you said, some of the Pro-Am drivers in the PC class. It's an interesting exercise to watch that dynamic work, for sure.
It is. This is going to be interesting to see now, to see whether anybody comes in to make a pit stop. I fancy we might see the number 16 car of Dyson racing into the pits to score points in the professional classes in P1 and GT. The second driver only needs to complete 15 minutes in the race. Right now, we're at 14 minutes 43. Let's go down to the pit lane.
And Chris Cumming, the team has already made quick work of fueling the car, so he does have fuel. Now they're making quick work of a new nose on this car. The team, this is a big disappointment for them. They had high hopes coming into the race today. The team's now in their second full season together, so doing these types of changes are a bit easier than they have been in the past. The team was definitely prepared. They're going to do this as quick as possible. This is valuable time. They don't have it, but they are in this for the full season championship, so they're trying to get the valuable points that they need. They will get Chris back out.
Well, thrashing big time on the front end of that car, as Jamie pointed out. Get this car back out. Points, it's early in the season, but you can never not think about the championship and implications, and that's why they will work furiously on this at this point. And you can see, you know, these you could do a fairly quick nose change, but there's still a lot you have to deal with. Here's how he lost it. Keep an eye on the back of the frame there. Just blew right off.
Wow, did it just go off on its own? There must have been some contact earlier on, surely, to loosen it.
Well, we saw him run off into one, and I wonder maybe there was a bump with the car and he got down in there. Just you know, pure speculation, but you don't normally see those.
Could be loosened the pins on the front there to the locating pins, perhaps. But I was talking a little bit about minimum drive time here in order to score points. In the professional classes, one driver only has to do a minimum of 15 minutes, but in the Pro-Am classes, the drivers have to do a minimum of 40 minutes in the race in order to be eligible for championship points, seasonal championship points. It will be
interesting to see how that all unfolds. We're going to step away for a moment. The BMW Aerial Cam giving you the postcard here at Long Beach. Here are your class leaders.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
This isn't just a car. It's a legend. This isn't just a family. It's a statement. And this isn't just a brand. It's an attitude. This is SRT. Street and Racing Technology.
Rated E for everyone.
We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Deltran Battery Tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
Welcome back to the Tequila Patron American Le Mans Series at Long Beach, the 39th running of this legendary street circuit event, and it's just an absolute treasure, certainly on the American as well as the global schedule, and it's great for the American Le Mans Series to be here as we ride on board with one of our P2 competitors, now on board the Corvette. You know, we've got 5 classes racing here, but there is another battle of great prestige. It's the Michelin Green X Challenge, and it's all about running clean, fast, but doing it efficiently. And there's it's a fairly intense level of formulas that are used up, but basically what it does is at the end of a race they go through fuel use, carbon that is expelled into the air, and speed, amount of distance covered, and that formula is put together in the Michelin Green X Challenge winner, 1 in prototype, 1 in GT, and it is a very prestigious award, the Michelin Green X Challenge. Run clean, run fast, run efficient, and there's also a season-ending points championship for that as well. That has a lot of cachet with it, to be sure. Marino Franchitti, he's been having himself a busy opening start to the race, and this caution, Jeremy, is probably exactly what he wanted to see. As Scott Tucker had qualified this car a little bit further back in the pack, Marino starting and has had to fight his way up through the pack and has done a great job of it.
He certainly has. He had to start back in 22nd place behind all the GT cars. So yeah, Marino really had a tough time in the early stages. So you're right, it is exactly what he needs. He's in 3rd place in the class, and he will be expecting to jump forward at the restart. Now he's only got a couple of PC cars between himself and the 2 leading cars in P2.
We're on board there for a moment with the GTC Momo Porsche, and we right before this caution came out, actually Guy Cosmo was able to sneak around. We were looking at some of the other activities, obviously, as we now get the cars getting waved around. All the cars that are essentially in the mixed, they wave them around. Here's the move, Jeremy, and Cosmo, he'd been working it for a while and just got that inside line right down into that passing zone he talked about at the top of the show. Made the pass, beautiful move, classic.
Yep, absolutely perfect. That's exactly how you do it. The pass around here, this is for any of the class contenders that are trapped between the pace car and the leader of their class. In order that they are not disadvantaged, those cars, as I say, between the safety car and the class leader are allowed to go past the safety car, run around to the back of the pack, and then take up position behind the class leader. So the reason for this is just to make sure no one is disadvantaged by the timing, the timing of the safety car and the full course caution. So it's a good move there to keep everybody in the frame, make sure no one gets a kind of a lucky advantage to get clear of the pack. So that's a staple now of American Le Mans Series racing, and just makes it a much cleaner fight all the way through the field. So in any of the 5 classes, if they were almost disadvantaged, and were able to run around, to get the pass around and go to the back of the pack, and then the pits will be open, and anybody who wants to make a pit stop will be able to do so.
You know, another car that's been on the move here very, very impressively has been the number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari, qualified 7th in class, and Olivier Beretta has hustled that car up into 3rd right now. So, yeah, in GT, it's the 91 Viper Goossens, the number 3 of Antonio Garcia and Olivier Beretta. You know, folks, Michelin comes to Long Beach with a long string of wins over the past 6 years, and as Kelly Stavis shows us, the tires they bring are not just about being black and round.
This year we see 2 different Michelin tires being used in the P1 class. Muscle Milk has opted to go with the standard street soft tire they won with a year ago, while Dyson and Rebellion have chosen this ultra wide front tire. It's about 1 inch wider and 1 inch taller than the standard street soft. There are advantages to both. Because there's less surface area on the standard street soft, it will come up to temperature quicker, which helps with cornering and braking. But the ultra-wide front tire takes longer to come up to temperature, but maintains its peak performance longer.
You said advantages to both, and it's all a matter of what that car, that chassis you're running likes. And of course, the Muscle Milk machine is an HPD ARX 038, a little different, open cockpit, a little different design than the Lolas of the Rebellion and the Mazda Lola for Dyson Racing. And it's all a matter of what works a little bit better on that chassis. And you can't argue with Muscle Milk's decision to run the tire that's street soft. They've done pretty well in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they certainly have. They've got a good setup for this track, and like we said earlier on, Brandon Fry, the race engineer, made a bit of a tactical error perhaps in qualifying, for which he was kicking himself afterwards, but he knew he had a good combination here for the race, and that car was certainly working well for Lucas Luhr. He does have the fastest lap of the race thus far, 1:13.662, which is about 0.4 of a second quicker than the best lap set by Neil Jarni. Chris Dyson, meanwhile, his best lap so far in the opening stages was only 1:16.1, so a good couple of seconds off the pace.
By the way, in the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category, it's still the number 9 Duncan Endy, the RSR Johnson Controls Orica, that is leading in the class. Second in that category is Jonathan Bennett, doing a superb job here in the early going, and Mike Gauch runs in the 3rd spot, the number 52.
Yeah, Mike Gauch, he does a good job. He really does. He's another guy who works. He's not a professional driver, but he works very hard at his craft. Now, the pits I think are going to be open this time around. 4 pit stops by the prototype cars. Going to be interesting to see who comes in. Most of the guys will need at least 1 pit stop to get to the end, possibly 2. Let's see who comes in. The Rebellion car does not, nor does the Dyson car. That really does surprise me. I would have thought Guy Smith is significantly quicker around here than Chris Dyson. I would have thought bringing that car into the pits, that's exactly what Muscle Milk is doing.
Yeah, Lucas Luhr bringing that car down. And it's going to be interesting here. Obviously, you can see he's getting ready for that driver change. Now, the problem is these cars can't really go an hour 25 on fuel. So if they pit now, they're going to at least probably have to do a quick splash at some point.
Yes, they are definitely have to make 1 more pit stop for sure. But I think this is a fine move.
And they're doing a full stop. It looks like the fuel is going in now. The driver change also taking place. This driver change is actually the fastest of the two. When Lucas hands the car over to Klaus, they save a lot of time. They are not taking tires. There is lots of strategy playing out right now. The team has been very pleased with the Michelin street softs they've been given this weekend. Lucas Luhr already out.
Well, that was a very quick stop.
Yeah, well, they only didn't need a whole heck of a lot of fuel. But I think that's a really good strategic call by Muscle Milk Racing. You know, there's kind of a bit of, dare I say it, a bit of ego comes into play here, because certainly Lucas Luhr wouldn't want to get out of the car after only 15 minutes of driving, but he's got to put that ego aside and decide what's best for the team. That's what Greg Pickett does. He owns that team. He along with Brandon Fry, the race engineer, they would have made that call between the two of them. Bring Lucas in. Now it's going to be Klaus Graf who gets the glory, and he goes for the whole remaining hour and a half or so.
Yeah. And
I think that the smart move by Dyson Racing would have been to do the same thing. Put Guy Smith in the car and let him race to the end. So I think that's a strategic error by Dyson Racing. I think they missed the opportunity there. Chris, obviously, though, Dyson decided, I want to do more than 15 minutes of driving, and you can't blame him for that.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, the number 91 Viper from SRT Motorsports did their stop, and also the number 4 Corvette did that change up as well. So the defending race winners here, so Tommy Milner handing over to an incredibly fast Ollie Gavin. We are coming up to a green flag and the resumption of racing here on the streets. Green. And man, did Neil Jarni read that one and immediately opened up a gap over Chris Dyson, and you can see him stretching that margin as they head down into turn 1. This BMW aerial cam, this is such a target-rich environment in terms of beauty shots, as we like to call them. And Dyson made up quite a bit of ground, though, under the brakes.
Yeah, and a great crowd on hand here, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's packed walking around the place through the expo, so the Lifestyle Expo, anywhere through the paddock areas, absolutely jam-packed, tremendous crowd here. And as you can see, perfect Southern California racing conditions. And now, Chris has done a much better job this time of getting up to speed right away. Whether he can hang on to Neil Jarni, though, I don't know. But look at that GTC, I think, cars battling behind him.
By the way, we get a report that there may have been one little glitch in the Muscle Milk Pickett Racing pit stop, a radio problem. They don't think they got the radio jack plugged in correctly, because right now they cannot hear Klaus.
No. Klaus Graf, that could be a problem when they need to make their second pit stop, certainly. And we've seen that problem in the past. And interestingly, there was a Grand Am race at Circuit of the Americas a few weeks ago. Look at that, that's Duncan Endy locking up there behind the P2 car coming around turn 9. In the Circuit of the Americas race, the leading car, number 99 Red Dragon car, they didn't have a radio communication either. So what they did, the race engineer, John Ward, he sent a message to race control. He said, hang out the black flag to our car. They're handing out the black flag, and that's ordered to come into the pit lane. And then they're off and running from there. So great heads-up driving, that's what experience is all about. And so there's plenty of ways around it, but radio communication is kind of taken for granted nowadays. Now, here's a Falcon car. Look at this, going to run on the Corvette.
It's a great battle, but I think I just saw the Risi Competizione Ferrari that had been up to third duck into the pits. That's a bit of a surprise. Waiting till we're back to green as we're riding with Brian Sellers. Oh, and the reason the 62 entry in, Olivier Beretta, is being brought in for a penalty. We don't know exactly what it is, but that's the deal. So this now the battle for the lead in GT. And I'll tell you what, this might just be the year for the Falcon Tire team. And they have proven that they have a great street fighter with a couple of wins at Baltimore over the past couple of years. And we got 2 cars in. Not sure what the penalty was for. Let's see. Oh, avoidable contact is what the call is.
Wow, 2 penalties there. So
right here. Oh, got into the back of the 93 Viper.
Wow, look at the Falcon Tires car being pushed out there as well.
That's where that damage came we saw in the corner at the hairpin. Here's another look.
Yeah.
We're going to report now that the Dyson entry has stopped. Unbelievable. This has just been one of those weekends for this team. Here's Chris, no doubt chatting on the radio, trying to find out if there's a solution to whatever this problem is.
That is a disaster for Dyson Racing. They didn't score any points in the first race of the season at Sebring. Look at the onboard here.
Oh. That is the second hit. Obviously, they had that incident in qualifying, and now damage to the left front corner of this car, Kelly.
Well, and initial reports coming from Chris Dyson is that when he went to make that turn, just nothing happened. So they suspect something did break in that car. They're out of the race.
Frustrations abound, to be sure, as he is just sitting down. That's now down in the hairpin, and you can see the yellow flags waving. The flaggers down there. Good opportunity to say a big shout out to all the volunteers. The Long Beach Grand Prix Association, as we go full course caution, has an absolutely huge volunteer base, and you can't have a race like this without that type of volunteer base. And that was almost
Yellow was coming out there. We're going heads up driving for both of those two there. It's like the Falcon car might have been able to take the lead. Whether it was under caution or not, we'll have to wait for the stewards to make that call. But certainly it was a good heads-up driver. They both gave themselves plenty of racing, or just enough racing room at turn 9 there at the end of Seaside Way.
Well, we expected it would be an interesting, fraught race, and it is proving to be exactly that. Here on the streets of Long Beach, we're going to step away for just a minute. We'll be back with more from the Roar by the Shore. So as we enjoy this beautiful aerial shot, once again, there's the Hyatt Regency sitting right in the center. There's the convention center, the arena, and the Marina in the background. This place is absolutely beautiful, and it over the years, a lot of different variations of this track, and the one that they have now has really proven to be a superb challenge.
Yeah, it's great, and what a fabulous scene that is. It's just tremendous. The atmosphere is buzzing this weekend. There's Greg Pickett on the right there. On the left is Mike Perry, the manager for Lucas Luer, amongst several other drivers. Michael Krug, another one that he looks after. And Here is the, I guess they're getting ready to hang out a pit board here for Klaus Graf to give him an update. Clearly that radio communication is not working between the car and the team. So they're going to do the old-fashioned way, hang out a pit board, radio plug. So plug the radio in. It's not easier said than done that, because you've got to fish around over his shoulder and find the connector there, which is not, it's a lot easier said than done. So we'll see whether Klaus can figure it out. He's been racing a long time. He's won the last 2 races here in the American Le Mans Series.
If you can hear me, hit the yes button, please.
That's Greg Pickett right there, who is obviously team owner and very, very interested in what's unfolding there in the white driver's seat.
If you can hear me, hit the yes button.
And they're saying, Jeremy, what it is he plugged it in upside down. So if they can get him to just unplug, turn it, plug it back in.
Yeah, sometimes the radio communication will work one way, but not the other way. So they're probably hoping that Klaus can hear them in the pits, even if he can't communicate back again. Then if he can hear what they're saying, then he can follow the instructions whatever it needs. So that's what they're trying to figure out at the moment, whether Klaus Graf in the car can hear what Brandon Fry is saying on the pit wall.
Yeah, it's important for them to be able to tell him when to pit. Obviously, if he's got issues on the car, it would be nice for him to be able to talk back to the pit, but more important for him to be able to hear the strategy that's unfolding from the team.
Now this second caution, I would think that the GT cars now they can run to around about the hour mark and just make this race on one pit stop. The Viper, however, that came in under that first caution, for sure will have to stop again later in this race. So it means basically now that all the GT cars will have to make one more pit stop. So the fact that a number 93 car came in earlier on is 91 car, I should say, of Mark Goossens. It's still going to have to make one more pit stop, as it is everybody else.
That's going to be interesting to see how this plays out exactly.
But they have made the driver change. Dominic Farnbacher did take over from Mark Goossens. So, it's kind of swings and roundabouts. Again, like we were talking about at the top of the show, it's all about strategy and keeping your nose clean.
The patience thing we talked about at the top is you've got to be able to pay attention to that. So still the wave around now, the wave by is now complete. So at this point, the pits will open. Then it is going to get busy.
Yeah, and because this was within 15 minutes of the last yellow full course caution, anybody will be able to come into the pit lane. Generally speaking, they open the pits first for prototype cars, and then on the next lap around for GT cars, just because it can get really busy on pit lane.
Just heard that little squawk in the background. That was Klaus Graf talking to their pits. We get the report. He got it solved inside the car. Sure, a big sigh of relief from both sides of that pit wall.
Certainly no signs of relief here at Dyson Racing, because that's a disaster for this team. 2 races, no championship points, only 8 races to go in the season. So that's going to be a real major tough uphill battle for them, and a great shame, because that car has been fast this weekend. It was fast at pre-season testing. They just kind of got lost with the setup at Sebring. They didn't really understand quite why that would be. They've tested since then, and they've been fast this weekend. And Vince Wood, who is he generally engineers the number 20 car, he is engineering the number 16 car this weekend, and he's got that car working really, really well. Peter Weston isn't here, usually the head race engineer for Dyson Racing. He's not here this weekend, but Vince Wood, he's been with this team a long, long time. He's running that car this weekend. He made some good calls. The car was fast. Unfortunately, for some reason, Chris struggled in the early stages, but that car has been competitive all weekend long, and that is very good news for the remainder of the season for Dyson Racing.
Indeed, we're getting a report now. The pit lane is open for all cars, all classes. So this could be interesting to see. We expect a bunch of cars diving in.
We do, but it's only 37 minutes has gone in this race. So for the Pro-Am classes, drivers have to do 40 minutes in order to score points. And that's not just one driver score points, it's both the drivers to score points. That the amateur driver has to do at least 40 minutes. So it's too early at this stage.
Checking out what's unfolding here. And the winner of this week's Intercontinental Hotel Group's Tweet, Watch, and Win contest is James Harder, folks, from Anaheim Hills, California. James wins 550,000, IHG Priority Club points, and that's enough to redeem for a free night at many IHG properties. You can log on to ALMS.com to find out how you could become the next winner. Congratulations again to James Harder from Anaheim Hills, California. Well done, and hope you enjoy your stay at the Intercontinental Hotels Group. It's a great place to stay, without question. And it's a bit surprising. Didn't see as many cars head into the pits as we thought.
No,
being open.
And that's because that's the reason.
Yeah.
The Rebellion car, they're still going to have to make one more pit stop. Well, no, they don't want to give up the track position at this stage. They want to stay out as long as they can.
Right.
They've still got about another 15 minutes or so that they can run before they need to make their pit stop. So I'm sure they're hoping try and make hay while the sun shines. I think though strategically the balance might have fallen in favor of Muscle Milk Pickett Racing. They've made one of their pit stops. They still will need to make another pit stop. So both of those cars will need to, the 12 and the number 6 car will need to make at least one more pit stop, and the number 12 is ahead of the number 6, but the number 6 car has its driver change already completed, so one less thing to do when they come onto pit lane. It's going to be a fascinating contest.
Well, the strategy, we were talking about, you said at the top of the show, pits and how that unfolds with the yellows. And it gets simple if you get that yellow right near the end of that pit window, and it's going to be a long enough yellow, everybody pits, it's done. But having the early ones here now, that's a whole different story at this point. And these guys now have been waiting, as you pointed out. Those the Pro-Am category cars are now just a few seconds away from being able to make that work.
Yeah, they might be able to come in at the end of this lap, but then if they're going to go green at the end of it, it's a tough call. The number 93 car, the Viper, did come in again just now. I presume for just a top-up of fuel. Jonathan Bomarito is driving the number 93 car. He has taken over that car from Kuno Whitmer. The Vipers, though, now have started in 1st and 3rd in class, are now running in 7th and 9th. Number 91 car in 7th place, the pole sitter. Jonathan Bomarito in number 93 car is 9th in the class.
On board here with a close crowd.
Time he comes out of the pits.
And there you see, there's still that contact clearly on that Dyson car was bad enough.
We're not going green now. 40 minutes hazard lap. So now, yes, here we go. The Pro-Am cars, they can make their pit stop and their driver change and get to the end.
That's Scott Tucker, who, of course, that car had qualified on pole in class.
Get ready for driver change.
He's going to be turning it over to the very quick Ryan Briscoe.
Yeah, and Scott Tucker, he's going to jump out of this car and he's going to jump straight into the other one. There it is, right? That's number 551. That's the car that Scott Tucker started this race in.
Hits his marks.
But he will be...
And Ryan Briscoe, actually, kind of an interesting story. This was his 2nd straight pole here in Long Beach. The other one came last year, but in Indy cars.
Yeah. And this is the car with which Scott Tucker is scoring points this weekend. He has to nominate. He's driving both of his team cars, 551 and the 552 there, but he will only score points in the 551 car. It's a bit complicated, I must admit.
And both of our Patron machines are in. Jamie busy down there.
And that battle is about to get underway. Scott Sharp now behind the wheel of the number 01, but there's a problem. He cannot get the car to fire. He's been sitting for several seconds now. Fuel and tires are both complete. It's very tight down here in pit lane. Flying Lizard, he did get beat out of pit lane by Level 5 Motorsports. Number 44 from Flying Lizard was right in front of him. They're having to push that car in reverse because of the angle that he pulled in at. So none of these pit stops are going according to plan at the moment.
Wow, you can see just how compact and tight that pit lane is, and that was a huge blow to the Patron team here with Scott Sharp not able to get that fire. He came in front. And Kelly, you've got action down in the 552 pit.
And now we see Scott Tucker leaving pit lane in that 552 Level 5 Motorsports machine, and what a job Marino Franchitti did, starting from the 22nd position overall. He told me he wasn't even sure if he would catch the PCs, but he worked his way through half that field and along with the GT field, so good work by Marino making his way through that traffic and gaining spots for Level 5.
Yeah, Marino's a little fighter, man. He's not going to give that up, and they are still right there, 4th in class. But what I was saying about that problem for Scott Sharp, they had come in the lead in class, and it was key for them to get out track position to be in front of Ryan Briscoe, and it all went wrong.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling around here, and I think when we get back to green.
You know what? We want to talk about something special here. Not only is the new Corvette C7 beautifully designed, but the design serves as form and functionality. They have an approach to bring racing technology to their customers.
It's no secret that Corvette's roots are in racing, so as we anticipate the arrival of the 2014 Corvette Stingray, I found the exterior design manager, Kirk Binion. Kirk, talk about the close collaboration in the design and the aerodynamics of the C7.
Well, we work very closely with the race team on the areas of cooling the car, front end configuration, as well as what we do in the back of the car with lift management and aerodynamics and such.
So how much influence does the race team actually have on the design of the road car?
Well, they do a lot for the road car in that they help us really improve the performance of the road car. Airgat in its front lift management, cooling needs, as well as how we tailor and tune the back end of the car for its cooling and downforce needs.
We'll track the process of the C7 all season, but if you want to know more about the design and aerodynamics, you can go to CorvetteStingray2014.com.
Nice opportunity for Jamie to get inside and really take a look at that. And, talking over the years with Doug Fian, who is the program manager for Corvette Racing, he says it's an amazing dynamic between the racing team and the street car design team. And he said the street car design team will say, what do you need to make that car more effective within the rules that we can incorporate into the street car to make that street car better. And it's really a back and forth program with them, and it has proven to be immensely successful.
Yeah, no question. No question about those getting ready.
Yeah, lights out.
Here to go back to green, and you can see the two P1 cars together here. So Neil Jardine, now we see a straight-up fight between the Lola Toyota and the HPD of Klaus Graf, and the GT cars right behind these guys have not yet made a pit stop. Brian, green for Team Falcon Tire.
We are green. Johnny again gets a pretty decent launch, but Klaus Graf now right there and close. Then that blue Falcon Tire GT leader, Brian Sellers. Right behind them is Antonio Garcia, the #3 CompuWare Corvette. And a great story, Bill Sweedler and Bryce Miller now up into play. And look at this. Here we go. Bryce Miller down underneath Sweedler. And that was the car that had showed that great practice pace and the problem in qualifying. And Bryce Miller has that car absolutely hooked up and flying right now.
Fabulous drive by Bryce Miller. Had to start at the back of the pack. We talked about that already. He had a wheel problem yesterday in qualifying. They've changed the wheels on the car. They're running an older specification rotating wheel in this race. But what a magnificent job here by Bryce Miller to get that car up into contention now and ahead of Bill Sweedler, who, as you were saying, has also done a fine job for AJR Team West.
He really has, although he just got passed by Tommy Milner, last year's race winner here, and he is now under huge pressure from Joey Hand in the #56 BMW.
Indeed, so we've got the Falcon Tires car out in front, we've got Michelin Tires cars in second and third, and the Yokohama tired car in fourth, the AJR West Ferrari. There it is there, holding off the BMW of Joey Hand. Great stuff, great stuff.
It really is, and it's fascinating. AJR, Alex Job Racing, one of the most highly credentialed team in pit lane. A lot of that success coming with Porsche. They ran an Audi at Daytona, and they ran a Lotus here last year. They run a Porsche in GTC and a Ferrari in GT. It is amazing what that team can do, and they do it exceptionally well. There's a look at Bryce Miller. Oh, and a big loop down there that looks like Scott Tucker in the 552 has gone around, and it looks like there's some moisture right there in the middle of the track. See, right there. I don't know exactly what may have happened, but I would suspect it caught him out.
Where's he going? Where is he going?
Just trying to back. Oh, look at that. There's moisture everywhere.
Hello.
Cars are spinning everywhere in that area.
Yeah.
That's another problem for the #8 Evident Capital entry. That was a car that had that long stop and the bonnet came off.
Okay, go.
And full course caution once again. And I would suspect that is going to be for that fluid.
Back, full course yellow.
Most of those. That is a tough scenario to be sitting in, broadside to the track. That's Kyle Marcelli. Let's go back, see if we can find out what happened here, Jeremy. Watching Kyle get cleared. Here we go.
contact between two GTC Porsches. Another GTC Porsche getting into the back there of Scott Tucker as well. Let's see Scott Tucker on board with him coming into the hairpin. Boom, contact there from the number 11 GTC Porsche.
Yeah, the JDX entry.
Jan Heylen driving that car.
I think that's where that fluid came from, because that side angle, I think it caught that radiator.
On the Porsche, absolutely right. They're very vulnerable there on these GT3 Cup cars, located in the nose, and that contact might well have ruptured the radiator on the car and spilled out all that fluid, and that's what we saw cause various other people to spin as well.
So we're under a full course caution, and we're going to be stepping away for a moment. Once again, Neil Liani leads overall, Briscoe in P2, Colin Brown in PC, GT is Sellers, and GTC, young Mr. Sean Edwards.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The 911. Porsche identity.
Doc? Doc? Goose!
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world, because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
Rated E for everyone.
We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Welcome back, everybody. It is a glorious day here at the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Long Beach, part and parcel of this 39th running of the legendary Roar by the Shore. And that marina full of boats, and oftentimes you see a lot of them over a little bit further down, actually watching some of the racing unfolding. And we continue under the full course caution. What they're going to be doing, Jeremy, we get the report from race control, is they're going to bring the cars through the back door of pit lane, cycle them down pit lane so they can spend the time out in the hairpin itself and get that dried up. The good news is you're not allowed to run a lot of actual coolant in those radiators. It's more water, so it'll evaporate up quickly, but they have to clean that up.
That's right, and the back door you talk about, there's an entrance into the pit lane before the hairpin, so they'll take a sharp right-hand turn before the hairpin, kind of in the middle of turn 10, and then come through the pit lane, and that will leave the track clear at the hairpin, so the corner workers can get that clean-up stuff done. We've got the wave around going on right now. Again, any of the cars that are trapped between the safety car and the class leader of that particular class will be able to run around and catch up to the back of the pack.
And
this
something
is the end of Seaside Way here, turn 9, and then a couple of hundred yards down the road from here, they will bring the cars to the right and skip out the hairpin this time around.
Watch that. This is turn 9 at the end of that long back chute, if you will. Runs up and underneath a couple of the parking structures and bridges leading into the convention center in the Hyatt. And
tell you what's loud down there.
Oh boy, bouncing off of the walls, it truly is. It's spectacular. That's one of the wonderful things about the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, is the symphony, the orchestra that that this creates. It's just amazing. All the great noise. There you see they're cutting in and skipping that whole back part of the chicane, and then they come. Basically, they're going out pit in is essentially what they're doing, and that allows them to, all the safety crews, to safely be back. You can see them with that oil dry down there, scrubbing away and cleaning that up. And I was going to just point out, Jeremy, that some of you folks would be going, well, how do they know they're going to do this? Do you just follow the pace car? You follow the taillights of the guy in front of you? Well, it is a regulation that every one of these teams has to be monitoring race control, and race control can send out a quick blast, if you will, that says, here's what we're going to do, tell your drivers, so that they know exactly what's going to be unfolding.
Which is fine as long as your radio is working.
This is true. This is true.
And you've got to hope that at least the race leader's car is working. Radio is working, so he hears, and everybody else just kind of follows him.
And we just get a report from
a disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, we have somebody that's scanning the radios, and they said, and what did they tell most of the other drivers? Follow the safety car. So I guess he just
yeah.
And we did get a confirmation it was the radiator on the JDX entry that popped and left that fluid down there.
Yeah, that car's now shown in pit lane, a couple of laps down to the class leader. So the end of a good run there, because Jan Halen was already at the wheel of that number 11 JDX car, and they were certainly hopeful of a strong run in the remaining hour or so of this race, hour and 6 minutes remaining now. So I fancy we will see all of the GT, once the pits are opened, we will see, I think, most of the GT contenders onto pit lane. We had a couple of them making pit stops earlier on. I think Bill Oberlin in the
same procedure through the back door.
Number 55 BMW that had that problem earlier on with Maxime Martin. They've already made their driver change, and Bill Oberlin has been in also for a splash of fuel a little while ago. That was an interesting call. That might serve that 55 BMW well in the latter stages.
Good look right there at the Porsche Panamera safety car as it takes that back door and just sort of shortcuts that entire hairpin. Very important to have good vehicles. These are high-performance cars that these safety cars are leading around, and you have to have something that has the ability to get up and go when it needs to, and that Porsche Panamera certainly does. And we also have chase vehicles, medical vehicles, that also have the ability to bring doctors onto the scene very quickly should there be a need. We've got the great safety team that's provided by the International Motorsports Association, the sanctioning body for the series. And that's, you see those guys there all out there, and you even see the doc right there. He's got the broom in his hands. When it comes time to keeping this race going, everybody jumps in.
All hands on deck.
And then you see the corner workers down there in white waving those flags. Those are the people from volunteer organizations, Sports Car Club of America primarily, that are out there flagging in harm's way, giving information to the drivers, whether it's command or simply information flags and the like. There's so much that goes into putting on a race in general, and then all of the stuff about putting on a street race, and the fact that this is now 39 years into this, it's amazing.
You make a great point there, because there's so many ways to be involved in this sport. Yeah, the drivers get all the glory perhaps, but there's many other ways to be involved. Corner workers, the marshals, the officials on pit lane. I did a little Q&A thing in the paddock yesterday. We had Johnny Knotts, who is the chief pit lane marshal for the American Le Mans Series, and he was talking there with the fans and all sorts of interesting questions, and he was posed during that session. And there's, like I say, many different ways to get involved. As a mechanic, as an engineer, doing what we do. No, don't do that. We like our job here. But it is a wonderful sport with lots of fabulous people, and there's so much enthusiasm and positivity around.
Well, absolutely, and they're all key roles to be sure. Whether you're driving, whether you're working for a team as a crew or whatever, or whether you're a volunteer around the track, a corner worker, whatever it is, you're a participant, and that makes it very special indeed. I love to get out and corner work. I find that it's just absolutely, it's the best seat in the house, and you can go out and you can learn an awful lot while you're watching these pros run when you're sitting right there on the corner. So give that a thought.
First-hand view, absolutely right. The pits are probably going to be open this time around, so we'll see. We're back onto the regular course, so we'll see now who comes onto pit lane. I would certainly expect Neil Gianni to come onto pit lane, and probably...
No, he did not. Here comes the GT group that did not pit, led in by Brian Sellers in that blue and turquoise Falcon Tire Porsche right behind him. The vets split by Bryce Miller in that Chopard Porsche. What a great run.
Yeah, all of the top 6, 7, I think all of the GT cars are actually on pit lane this time around.
And the one great piece, I mean, we hate to see the cautions, but certainly the Racing Competizione team are, these cautions have helped them after that long stop and hold for the avoidable contact. This has allowed them to bunch up. Corvette is in. Let's get down to Kelly. What's happening?
And we see both the 3 and 4 Corvettes pit from 2nd and 4th positions, respectively. Both will make driver changes. So Antonio Garcia out of the number 3 with Jan Magnussen in, and now Tommy Milner hands over driving duties to Oliver Gavin. Now this crew works tirelessly on their pit stops. They get those tire changes down to between 6 or 7 seconds, which could make all the difference, Jamie.
And Falcon Tires also taking this opportunity to come in for a pit stop. It was a very fast one. They have beat Corvette back out of pit lane. It was full service. Wolf Hensler now behind the wheel of the car. That team, they worked on their pit stops in the last race at Sebring. They saved 20 seconds during the race on their pit stop, so another clean one for them. Also just on pit road was the number 01 from Extreme Speed Motorsports. It was fuel only, and Scott Sharp is back out.
Tell you what, though, I think they might have all been beaten out by the number 48 car, Bryce Miller. Presuming he would have handed over that car to Marco Holter. Did they make a pit stop earlier on? I thought they did, but I thought I saw.
They came in.
The car come.
The 48 car did come. No, not earlier on. This was their first round.
I thought I saw a glimpse of it as they went into turn 1 there. I may be wrong. Maybe it was one of the GCC cars, because certainly the Falcon Tires team and the Corvette Racing made super fast pit stops. So just have to wait and see until they come past the scoring loop on the next time and see exactly what the order is for the restart.
And I'll tell you, one of the reasons that the American Le Mans Series in general, and in particular the GT category, is so amazing is you just look at these driver lineups. Brian Sellers, amazing driver. Hands over, Wolf Hensler, amazing driver. You got Garcia out putting in Magnussen. I mean, it's amazing the abilities of these drivers, these driver pairings, some of the absolute best pilots in the world right here in the American Le Mans Series. And this now is going to be just a fabulous race right to the end. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to get a lot more green flag racing. And now we see the Rebellion and the Muscle Milk coming in. Rebellion's first stop, Muscle Milk second. This is trying to get back in sequence for the Muscle Milk car?
No, the Rebellion car, that needs full service. The Muscle Milk car will need a little less fuel. Go down to the pit lane.
This is the first stop we've seen for this Rebellion Toyota. What a story they have. This car was built for the long tracks in Europe, not these tight corner street circuits here like we see at Long Beach. They've done a driver change, so Nick Heidfeld, the former Formula One driver, is now taking over driving duties for Neil. Johnny, this team told me that along with that outright speed they showed in qualifying, that strategy was going to be so important. Well, this is their first time here at Long Beach, so they went back and reviewed races from years past to see how strategies played out. It was a relatively clean and quick stop for Nick Heidfeld. He's back out on pit lane.
That's a very good point.
But the bad news is the Muscle Milk car, as we talked about a little while ago, they only needed half a tank of fuel. They'd already got their driver change completed. That's why they talked about the strategy earlier on. A great call and a very good call, I think, by Muscle Milk.
Yeah, great track position. Jamie.
It was such a quick pit stop for Muscle Milk Racing. They have to switch out a data card. That's a rule in the series. Every time they come into pit lane, they put in a new data card that goes into the series. Well, the time that it took to get the data card out and put a new one in, fuel was already complete. That was the only holdup that they had. So this team is definitely relying on their strategy today.
And I think it was brilliant. You're absolutely right, Jeremy. And the fact that they did that, they didn't need much fuel. They now the sequences I thought was completely not correct, but it was superb to be able to get him out that fast track position, so crucially important here. So it's just impressive what they have done right here. And again, not having the qualifying that they wanted. So problems there. Also, lots of other activity up and down pit lane, and Jamie Howe explored some of it a bit earlier.
Extreme Speed Motorsports has made no secret of why they made the decision to make the move from GT to the Prototype 2 category. They are looking to build a solid foundation for 2014 when they plan on going for the full championship. Part of that plan is improving showing their teamwork. Last year, each the 01 and the 02 car had 2 separate pit boxes. This year, they decided to switch to one. What they determined in running in GT was that they actually had 2 teams under one roof instead of one team running 2 cars. So far, 2 races in, they said this has been a huge improvement. The engineers, they can talk about changes that they're doing each car. The team is now making changes together, and this is going to be the difference they think that's going to get them the championship.
All right, thanks very much, Jamie. And looking way ahead, but that is going to be such a great development in 2014 at so many different levels. We are back to green flag racing, and interesting how this has unfolded. That is Colin Brown in the 05 Continental Tire Prototype Challenge car that has gone to the lead. This is Ryan Briscoe now moving up into 2nd overall, and it's the number 91 Viper of Dominic Farnbacher still leading in GT1, and it was leading overall, but just because of the fact that things hadn't cycled through the pit stops just yet. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little bit confused. But obviously,
Briscoe.
Yeah, it was Ryan Briscoe making a pit stop there for level 5. I know there was a penalty there. I'm just confused as to why the 2 overall race leaders, the P1 cars, didn't come in along with the GT cars, because we've been told that the pits were open for any cars to come into the pits. Right. When we saw the GT cars come in, why the P cars didn't come in on that lap, I don't know. That, though, is why we see the Viper at the front of the field for the restart, and as you say, being overtaken by Colin Brown in that PC class leading 05. So
you were absolutely right on your thoughts about the 551 and Briscoe suddenly ducking in. It was a violation for pit equipment, a pit equipment violation for the 551. So that was, I believe, a stop and go. And we're also getting reports that the number 66 Racers Group GTC entry of Damian Faulkner, they had to do a stop plus 20 as well for their penalty. So those were 2 penalties that came up sort of around that restart and the pit stops that were involved in it.
This is sort of to say it's just shuffled things up would be a bit of an understatement.
Truly.
But what a great stint there by John Bennett in the first part of this race for Core Autosport in the championship winning car from last year, the 05, while Colin Brown running in the lead of the race overall.
Dominic Farnbacher still sits 2nd, though, in that Viper with Johannes van Overbeek now in the 02 Patron P2 entry from Extreme Speed Motorsports, 3rd at this in the overall order and leading in P2.
Yeah, and Bill Ormlin, we talked about him a little while ago. He did pit when everybody else pitted during that last full course caution a couple of laps ago, because he had made a pit stop a little while earlier on. The BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing crew decided it was a bit of a gamble to bring that number 55 car in for a pit stop at that stage, but now it's playing out in their favour. I fancy they might need another full course caution to get to the end of the race on this without having to make another pit stop for fuel, but we'll have to see how that one pans out. But here's Tristan Nunez in the middle of that little pack as well. But look at this, the overall leaders trying to shuffle their way through, find their way through this intense traffic. And again, the strategic calls. It was a very unselfish move by Lucas Muir to bring that number 6 car into the pit lane after only 15 minutes of racing, hand over to Klaus Graf, and that is giving him, his teammate Klaus Graf, the opportunity now to go for the victory. Whereas the Rebellion car, they've split the race evenly amongst their drivers, but in terms of the overall big picture, winning the race, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do, but still, we've still got 54 minutes to go, and yes, it is an old cliche, but anything can happen.
And often does at this race in particular. And the thing is, this is where you see what you were exactly talking about, Jeremy, how this is a team sport. And yeah, you put the ego aside. Yeah, you know Lucas wanted to drive half this race. He'd like to drive the whole thing. But he had an opportunity to do the right thing for the team. And of course, the team's saying, here's what we need to do. This is our best shot at it. And you do it. And there is Will Pensler as he's trying to auger his way back up in the Vulcan tire portion and get right back into the mix, has glommed on to the back of the Chopard at number 48 Paul Miller Racing entry. That is now in the hands of the very talented, another of the Porsche factory drivers, Marco Holzer. As we have there's a great onboard look backwards. That is Neil John, and now it's not Neil Johnny anymore. They have turned over to Nick Heidfeld. And taking a look back as watching Heidfeld come by the Momo GTC category car. Now Heidfeld going to move over to the left and go ripping down the inside of that number 3 Corvette. Went in a little hot. Boy, what a move. I don't know how that number number 3 entry at Bags did not get into the back of that car.
That was tight indeed. I think talking about number 30 Momo GTC car. That is Sean Edwards, whose father Guy Edwards was a top driver 30 years or so ago, and Sean is a chip off the block. He's doing a good job. He's won a lot of races in Porsche Cup races in Europe.
Super Cup
races. He's also won at the Monaco Grand Prix circuit. So he's good on the street circuit, and he hasn't been here before the Long Beach, but he's done a fabulous job. And Enrique Cisneros started that number 30 car, the NGT Motorsport entry, and it's Sean Edwards in the lead, and he's going to take some beatings. Dion von Molker in second place in GTC in the 44 car. The teammate Spencer Pompelli, the second of the Flying Lizard cars, in third place on the 45. And then Jerome Blakemole, the former champion in GTC, number 22 car from WeatherTech, the car that won the championship last year for Alex Joe Racing, in fourth. So GTC is 30, 44, 45, 22, and then 68, driven by Craig Stanton, who lives right here in Long Beach.
Yes, rides his bicycle, actually, between the track and the house. Here's an idea, just to give you an idea, folks, of how intensely competitive the GTC class is. We talk about GT and certainly the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge class. In the GTC qualifying average, there were 8 different guys at some point that sat on pole, or changes for that. Just phenomenal.
You talk about Craig Stanton riding his bike from home to the racetrack, where he rides his bike. He's so fit, that guy. He probably rides his bike to every racetrack around the country. It's incredible.
We get the report now that an update from pit lane that was a strategy move by the Rebellion team to wait, because you had said why wouldn't they have come in? They wanted to pit as late as they could for fuel. They wanted to stretch the fuel and try and do this. So interesting.
One lap under caution, I would have thought would make a lot of difference. But certainly, you know, there was with 51 minutes to go, they're probably going to be struggling to get to the end of the race in any case on the amount of fuel they've got if there is not another caution. So, okay, fair enough. And then I'm sure the Boston car just followed in. If the number 12 car is coming in, we know we're going to have a quicker stop, so we might as well follow them in, because we only need half a tank of fuel, they need a full tank of fuel. So if we're following them in, we know that when we come out of the pits, we're going to be ahead. And even if both of them now have to stop again before the end of the motor race to have a splash of fuel, the advantage is now with the number 16 for Russell Pickett Racing, because they're out in front.
A 5th P position on track. It is so important here to be absolutely sure about it. I tell you, this is still a very impressive run by Colin Braun and that 05 Deposit Resources Core Racing entry. Just a remarkable job that he's doing up front, continuing to lead overall here. Running some good laps as he hop on board with Klaus Graf.
Yeah, he's got himself up to 3rd place overall. He's up to 2nd place now, actually. No, he's behind the P2 car. Jonas van Overbeek ahead of him. But yeah, 3rd place overall now for number 6, Klaus Graf. There he goes around turn 4. But behind him, look at that. It is Tristan Nunez in 4th place. A 17-year-old winner of the Team USA.
Lap 4, please, plus 14.
This kid is a star, absolute star. He went over to England the end of last year. He won the Walter Hayes Trophy, which has also been run in the past by Conor De Filippi, who's now an American to Conor De Filippi, who's racing now in the Porsche Cup in Germany this year, and Connor Daly, who's driving in GP2 and GP3 On his way, he hopes to Formula 1. And Tristan Nunez, he was magnificent. 120 Formula 4 cars were in that race at Silverstone, or in that event at Silverstone. They go through a whole knockout procedures of heats, semi-finals, and into the grand final with 38 cars, and he came out ahead of him. It's a fabulous drive, I tell you.
He did a mega stint at Sebring, I think, where he was lapping. That was just putting in some amazing times with those cars. Klaus Graf now did get around. We watched that pass on Johannes van Overbeek. Not a pass for class position, just overall position. And Klaus now is going to go for it, run down, and try and take that overall lead away and try and build that margin back. Right now, Klaus sits 2nd overall. Nick Heidfeld 2nd in P1 is 10th overall. So there's 7 cars still separating those. Klaus wants to go.
Ooh, look at this. Here's a battle for 5th place in GT, because with different strategies, the order was shuffled around. You can see the Falcon Tires car. He came into the pits in the lead. There were several contenders that did not make a pit stop. But look at that, down the inside, under braking, clean pass by Wolf Henson to take over 5th place. He's still got several other cars in front of him. It's Dominic Farnbach who leads in the pole-winning Viper, car number 91. 2nd place in GT, Bill Oberlin in the black BMW, car number 55. 3rd place in GT, Dirk Mueller in the white BMW Z4 GTE. And then this battle here, no, sorry, the second of the Vipers is in 4th place, coming up 93, and this is the battle for 5th on back.
It's going to be interesting, though, to see where that number 91, the Viper that is currently leading in class that sat in the pole, I think they're still going to need a stop. I don't see how they could make this to the end without maybe some help from cautions.
Yeah, quite. That's what it's going to be all about now, is strategy. I think Bill Oberlin can perhaps make it. I don't know about Dominic Farnbacher. It's good stuff. But Nick Heidfeld, who led convinced in the early stages, he's trapped back in the pack there, 10th place overall in the race, just ahead of that gaggle of GT cars that we saw. I think he might have some clear track. Perhaps at the moment, no, he's got a couple of PC cars ahead of him. So, he's still working his way through the field while Klaus Graf sets sail in terms of he's into the lead of the race now overall as they go around turn 6. And now into turn 8 and the onto Seaside Road. There is our new race leader for the first time today, car number 6, Klaus Graf.
He just wants to hammer those laps right now and build as big of a margin as he can, while Heidfeld has to fight up, as you said, through that group of cars. And there's the 12. And look at it, it's right in the middle of this pack. That's the Risi Competizione Ferrari that sits right in front of him. I mean, he'll make quick work as soon as he gets on the straights, but the problem is when that car is in the corners as he goes by, once they go in the corners, it is going to be pretty close. As we are watching Nick Heidfeld running here, trying to come up through the pack. Kelly is with the starting driver.
Well, Neil, Johnny led every race lap that he drove, and Neil, you've slipped down to 2nd now after that pit stop, but do you feel confident in your team's strategy?
Well, I think what Muscle did was a better strategy to change driver very early, first yellow. But that's the inexperience we have, unfortunately, this year, because they're just running a lot more in America, and it's a lot of strategy. But now we're hoping for a 2nd yellow or another yellow so we can catch up, and then hopefully a big fight the last 10 minutes.
How did you find the traffic here on the streets of Long Beach?
It's pure survival. I mean, I had already before the green flag fell a contact with Chris Dyson, who couldn't make the whole turn on the hairpin. And then with the Porsche and the Corvettes, and it's just a mess. I had several contacts and just trying to avoid a lot of debris on the track, but it's fun. It's fun.
Thanks, Neil.
Welcome to Long Beach, Mr. Johnny. Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
And as we talked about before, he has raced here before, so at least he knows the racetrack, and he loves the place. He loves the atmosphere, loves the racetrack, and he's having the buzz. He's a bit disappointed right now because he knows that the strategy that they've picked perhaps might not win them the race, but as he said, there is still a long way to go. Anything can happen. Tristan Nunez, I think, was just ducking into the pit lane there. I think I saw that car move to the right and off the racetrack.
Watching the race leader in this category, and you're right, you saw him heading in, and apparently it's a penalty. We'll find out what that is. And Colin Brown in this Core Composite Resources machine has been very, very impressive. And there is Tristan in that number 18. That is a huge blow with the pace that car was showing.
Into the penalty box to stop and hold here. He was up into 2nd place. Let's find out why this penalty has been called onto the number 18 car. Coming to the hairpin.
There it is. Oh, boom.
Yeah, boy, the number 552 car there just didn't get going coming off the hairpin, did it? He just didn't get on the gas.
Yeah.
But, it's what's interesting is we talked about this earlier on, and
oh, this happened. This is when Marino's still in the car, so that was quite some time ago when this happened. And that apparently they had not served this penalty, and which probably means that race control said, if you don't stop, we're going to quit scoring you.
Huh.
And so that's usually how that unfolds.
Yeah,
but wow, that's got to be frustrating for Tristan.
Yeah,
because it wasn't him in the car when it happened.
It was very early in the corner there. I mean, we talked about a little bit earlier on the P2 cars in the 2.8-litre twin-turbo engine have very little torque. They have great difficulty getting off the corners. These cars, the LS3-powered Corvette engines in the PC cars, they really just hammer off the corner. They just hit the throttle and they're gone. So it's a big difference between these cars. And for someone like Tristan Nunez, very little experience, of course, probably caught him out. He was on the gas expecting the P2 car to pull away, and it didn't.
Boy, Colin had that back end hanging out. Meanwhile, let's go on board.
Driving it.
Yes, at GTC right now. Here is your class leader, Sean Edwards, the Momo NGT Great team, NGT Motorsports, Momo sponsorship on the car. Enrique Cisneros starting the car. And what a great story he's been. Enrique coming over, getting involved in the IMSA GT3 Challenge Cup, immediately proved to be very quick and just has worked his way up and is now a top flight Pro-Am driver in GTC, and then turning it over to a guy like Sean Edwards out front. But in second, it's Spencer Pumpelly, who's one of the world's great Porsche pilots as well, in that Flying Lizard G Silicon car.
And that's the gap between them coming down Shoreline Drive, what, a second or so between those two. And Enrique Cisneros, he won. Talk about the IMSA GT3 Challenge. There are 40 cars at Sebring for the first couple of races last month. And there's the platinum class for the newer cars. Right. There's the gold class for the slightly older cars. Enrique Cisneros won the gold class in 2010. Then he's moved up from there. And you're right, but this is his first ever street circuit for Enrique Cisneros.
Yeah, and this is
the
nice
job.
Tommy Dreesy, Rusty Mitchell car,
Tommy Dreesy, he had an off this morning. He's driving also the World Challenge here this weekend. Had a big crash in the Corvette. Actually, that was coming out of turn 4. It was the next corner. He had the incident this morning. Is that Tommy driving? No, it's not. It's Rusty Mitchell.
Rusty,
It's a tricky place to be.
Oh, look at that. It was he's just trying to back around Andy. He's backing the car up to try and get that car turned around. Ooh! Well, that's come on back. That's good.
Very good.
And he continues. You can see Epic the movie opens May 24th. Tommy Dreesy always brings a good movie sponsorship on board, and that car continues. And hopefully that little back into the tires didn't do too much to it, so he will continue.
So what does that mean? In PC now, we've got Colin Brown. He's well out front, second place overall in the 05 car. In second place in the class in PC, number 52, Luis Diaz, always a crowd favorite, one of the most popular drivers in the American Le Mans Series, drafted into the PR1 Matheson Motorsports team this weekend, driving alongside Michael Gouache, who started that car. This team won the 12 Hours of Sebring last month. So Luis Diaz was not part of the driving lineup there, but certainly doing a fine job here is Luis, the Mexican driver, in second place in PC, car number 52, fifth place overall.
And third is Bruno Junqueira now. He's taken over that number 9 RSR Johnson Controls machine, pole sitter, and he's booking.
He is, and he loves this race. Bruno. He's had several poles here in the Indy cars. He's had various podium finishes. He's never won the race, and he wants to put that record straight this weekend.
Yeah, he's well motivated to be sure, and just sort of completing that. It's still in GT, Dominic Farnbacher in the Viper leading 55 BMW, Bill Oberlin. Dirk Mueller in the Team 56 sits third. Jonathan Bomarito in the 93 Viper is fourth. That's actually a nice comeback drive by them after the problems they had earlier. In the 17 of Wolf Hensler, the Falcon Tire entry, sits in the fifth spot in that category, closely followed by Jan Magnussen and Oliver Gavin in the Corvettes, and Marco Holzer in the number 48 at this stage of things. In GTC, we were talking about it. Edwards leads Pumpelly. Dion van Molke sits third in the team PR Newswire. Great sponsor that's been supporting Dion and trying to get him into the full season run, and they finally put that deal together with the Lizards. It's great. Jerome Bleekemolen, the pole sitter, sits fourth in the number 22 WeatherTech entry, started by Cooper McNeil, champion last year in the category. And Craig Stanton, the number 68, the Racers Group Porsche, sits in the fifth spot in GTC at this stage, with the 27 of Joe Foster, started by Patrick Dempsey, sitting in sixth.
Yeah, there's a lot of racing to be done there, that's for sure. In that GTC car, it's going to be a battle to the end. Sean Edwards, Spencer Pumpelly, Dion van Molke, who's had an amazing start to the season. He's under pressure now, as you say, from Jerome Bleekemolen. And then Craig Stanton hanging on behind those four in the number 68 car for TRG.
And Spencer Pumpelly just turned a lap that was about a half a second quicker than Sean Edwards, and he's taken back. He lost a little bit of time, probably traffic related in one way, shape, or other, but he's taken that back just a little bit. So Spencer trying to throw it down. Right now, those two guys are faster than anybody else in the class.
Yeah, and I think that was the fastest lap of the race in GTC by Spencer Pumpelly that time around. 1 minute 23.806. Damien Faulkner did a 1:23.9 a little while ago, as did Jan Halen, actually, in car number 11, who might be back into the race after it. Yeah, he is back in the race. Number 11 car, that JDX car. They've got him back out. Yeah, he's quite a long. He's 12 laps behind but he's turning some very quick lap times as well. Luis Diaz, he's just turned his best lap of the race in that number 52 PR1 Matheson Motorsports car, 1:17.4.
Oh, there's a bump right there.
And that is significantly quicker than Colin Brown is managing the class-leading car in PC. So,
yeah,
there's a lot to be played out there. We've got, what, 37 minutes to go. And we're on board with Klaus Graf coming past to complete lap 50.
Fallon had a little glitch with scoring, but you still have a good gap. Heidfeld's got free track for a couple laps.
So there's the crew talking to Klaus and giving him updates on what Heidfeld in that beautiful Rebellion Toyota, what that kind of track condition he's got. And you can see that's important because now Klaus knows he can't afford to get caught up behind this GT car for too long. He's got to make that pass and get by him because Heidfeld's going to make up ground. That's how closely they track these things. And there goes Graf quickly hustling by. But what he did there was he showed that good patience. Earlier in the lap, or completing it when he was heading into the hairpin, he was trying an outside move over there. And I think there was a little side to side with the car that he was passing. But he got away with it. But again, it's that unique mix of patience and pace that you have to exercise and execute to perfection right here on the streets of Long Beach. These guys, this is going to be remarkable if they do this. This will be the first time a driver pairing for the same team has won 3 times in a row here on the streets of Long Beach. Remarkable what this team has done.
Don't start counting chickens
just yet. No. That's all. Yeah.
Certainly everything is playing out in the favor of Muscle Pickett Racing. The car seems to be running flawlessly.
Plus 22, plus 22.
Plus 22, that's the gap, 22 seconds back. Second place car of Nick Heidfeld, so with only 36 minutes in the race, that's very, very comfortable indeed. That information being relayed by Brandon Fry, the race engineer, to Klaus Graf.
Well, you point out it's comfortable, but as we are seeing, we're at 36, just over 36 minutes remaining. That last lap, Graf's lap, was a 1:15.9. Heidfeld had turned a 1:14. Now, though, Heidfeld got caught in a little bit of traffic as well, and that dropped off as well.
Yeah, I fancy both of these two might need to make a splash and go for fuel towards the end of the race, but I think it's going to be the same for both of them.
Right.
I'd be surprised if one stopped and the other didn't. There are, of course, different engine packages. One, the HBD, the Honda Performance Development engine in the open-top car, the car number 6 for Muscle Racing, Pickett Racing, and the Rebellion Toyota engine, sorry, the Toyota engine in the Rebellion car, the Lola, the coupe Lola in car number 12. So different configurations all around, but fuel consumption, I think, fairly similar.
It's going to be interesting to see, and I think you're right. They're both going to be very, very sketchy. It'll be fun to see what strategy plays out, because at this point, it's similar amounts of fuel ought to be going in. It's not going to be like that last stop where the Muscleville car could take on a lot less fuel. Right. So that margin that they're very carefully watching, that Klaus Graf has over Nick Heidfeld, is going to be the difference if we get a caution.
Indeed.
Oh boy.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hold on to your hats if we do get a full course caution, because if we do get a full course caution, that will probably be enough to allow them to get to the end risk, because they use a lot less fuel running at slow speed under caution than they do running at speed under full green conditions. So that probably will be enough to allow them to get to the end of the race without making that splash and go for fuel in the late stages. But it's all ifs and buts. Yes. And that right now, though, we've got the battle on track is there's about 20 seconds between the car number 6 and the car number 12 in second place. Colin Brown, the 05 Class 80 car, PC in third, the 01 Scott Chandler, the E2 leader.
And in talking with the team in the last couple of weeks, they say switching from from GT up to the prototype ranks, their old car, it was like a 10-piece puzzle. This new car, it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle with all black pieces. So it's taken some time to get the car figured out. It's not just the big picture, though. It's the little things that you wouldn't think about. For example, when they were running with Ferrari, they had one set of tools that they used. They've had to go out and purchase all new tools that are in the standard category. So it's all the little things. Certainly a great effort for that team here today.
That was a huge commitment very late in the run-up to the season. They'd already prepped the Ferraris and everything essentially and said, well, we're going to make this step really in preparation for 2014 and make this move. Bought a car that certainly had a lot of success running in Europe, and then bought a brand new one to go along with it. But I think this is going to be great. You can see that car, boy, is awfully pogo-y over those bumps in the brake zone. So obviously it's all part of the learning of getting the cars dialed in and set up. And so
you can imagine the team meeting there, can't you? So, yeah, a few weeks before the first race. Thanks, boys, for all the work you've done on Ferraris. Now it's plan B. We're going to get completely different sort of car. We're going to get racing in a couple of weeks with it.
Here's a number 552 that had issues with a little contact and the like, not causing it, getting it. And they are now in pit lane. Scott Tucker just sitting on board as they're trying to assess something up and underneath the front. And we think it may be something yet again that recently developed. Let's see if we can figure it out, Jeremy.
He's following the Volkswagen Porsche here into turn 6. Ooh, ouch. Just got a bit too close there to the inside, just misjudged his turning point. And the car turned in better than he'd anticipated, clipped the wall on the left front wheel. That will have done some damage, certainly, to that left front corner on the car. And that is necessitating a fairly lengthy pit stop for number 552. You can see they're working there on the front, taking off the nose now. I'm going to have a look at the suspension components as well.
Trying to get up and underneath and look at that front end, which has to have been pretty seriously deranged, Kelly.
And we've seen Scott Tucker do double duty, so he started in his sister car, the 551, and it's unfortunate for both of these cars because the 552 had really worked its way through the field with Marino Franchitti. They hadn't made up any room within the P2 class, but he had been gaining on his opponents before he handed over the car over to Scott Tucker. Meanwhile, the 551 had led at one point, but it suffered a tire puncture. They don't know if it was from debris on the track or perhaps some contact that they didn't see. So while this 552 sat here in pit lane, its sister car, the 551, came in to do a pit stop and get 4 fresh Michelin tires on it. It was a bit of a lengthy stop as they had to push that car back and work it around the 552. So an unfortunate day here at level 5.
Indeed, that 551 car, we're on board with it right now as it turns into turn 1. It's a couple of laps down on both of the Extreme Speed Motorsports cars. So the 0-1, Scott Sharp leads in P2 class, 4th place overall. And his teammate Johannes van Overbeek, his first season of prototype racing, did a fine job there in 2nd place in the class, 6th overall.
Yeah, they had that penalty earlier, which then got compounded with that late stop as we're on board with the number 3 Corvette, Jan Magnussen, at the helm right now trying to work his way up. And you know, the American Le Mans Series and Chevrolet Corvette have teamed up again for the sports car racing fans' dream. Really, a grand prize of the all-new 2014 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray and an all-expense-paid VIP insider trip to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Go to racetowincorvette.com for your chance to win the ultimate sports car fans' dream prize. Do it now. We're going to step away. Pulled up. On board as we're watching here, and you can see it took a little bit of time for that Vulcan Tire Porsche to be able to make the run and get around that Flying Lizard GTC entry.
Yeah, this is the battle still for 5th place still, yes, in GT, so it's the SRT Viper still leads Dominic Farberg. It's put about 7 seconds over Bill Orwell in 2nd place. The second of BMWs in 3rd, then the second of the Vipers. And then these guys here, there's the second of the Vipers going out of the shot on the right side of the frame, going in the back of the seaside way into turn 9. Near that battle behind the Falcon Tires Porsche and the number 3 Corvette, the one with the red shade band, the number 4 Corvette right behind him, Oliver Gavin, last year's champion along with Tommy Milner. With the black shade band, the windscreen shade band in the color 4.
And remember, it wasn't that long ago, just real quick up front, Klaus Graf, they said he had the plus 22 margin. It's down to 16. Well, now it balloons up to 19. As Heidfeld got horribly held up somewhere on the track and lost a quick 2.5 seconds.
Ebbs and flows of traffic.
It truly is. Here, giveth and it taketh away, as they say.
does. But fascinating stuff. I mean, you really got to have your wits about you on this racetrack. And you're going to need to give up a couple of seconds here and there. And as a race driver, you talked about at the top of the show, it's very frustrating. But patience is a big key to success in this sort of racing.
Still Farnbacher leading in the 91 in this GT category. The Viper, we suspect that car is definitely going to need a stop. Oberlin runs.
It's a definite possibility, maybe,
yeah. Oberlin, we think, is real iffy at this point. Again, we're just guessing based on when they made the stops. Dirk Mueller, well, that looks a little bit better. And then the cars behind Bommarito, certainly Hensler, Magnus, Jan Magnussen, Gavin, Holzer.
They're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be real interesting to see how this moves. Oh, somebody spun right down there.
Tagged. Was that the other level 5 car got tagged?
Might be. Well, let's see. They're going to try and gather it up. Meanwhile,
is that the Paul Miller Porsche? Let's see. A long way away, but certainly an incident down there in turn 11. The entrance to turn 11.
Let's take a look at where we're sitting in our Michelin Green Edge Challenge at this stage of the race. In the prototype category, it's real close between Rebellion Racing and Muscle Milk Picket Racing. You can see the totals there, and it is very, very close between those two cars. And add in the Extreme Speed Motorsports entry, and it's that clean, fast, and efficient. That's the story. Here's the situation in the GT ranks. And right now, it's Team West, Alex Job Racing, and they've got a little bit more breathing room, and that's category right now over the number 3 Corvette and the 48 Paul Miller Racing entry, but it's not done yet. So at this point, one of the cars involved in that little incident leading into the hairpin was the number 551 of Brian Briscoe. So, boy, I'll tell you, that team is just flat bent in the wars today.
Yeah, and he saw that car in the pit lane also, Brian Briscoe. I thought it was that car. He just got tagged. It wasn't his fault, certainly. He got tagged, as you say. It's been a very difficult day for Level 5 Motorsports. They won this championship, of course, last year quite handily. And I don't think they're expected to be beaten this comfortably by Extreme Speed Motorsports. My hat's off particularly this afternoon to Johannes van Overbeek.
Yeah.
He's really done a fabulous job in the 02 car. And I'm not sure he might be a little bit quicker than Scott Sharp. They're running 4th and 6th overall, sandwiching the number 52 car, Luis Diaz. And they're all 3 turning very similar lap times. I fancy actually Diaz in the PC car and Van Overbeek in the 02 car might be catching Scott Sharp in the 01.
We're on board, by the way, the 91 class-leading GT Viper at this stage. And then you had Arvel, and then you had Miller, Dirk Mueller, the number 56. And we had been watching from the high camera that superb battle for 4th in GT, led by the 93 Viper of Jonathan Bommarito, but then Hensler, Magnus, and Gavin all in the frame. But Dominic Farnbacher, I mean, what a great weekend for the SRT Motorsports team and these Vipers. We talked about it. This team, this program, these cars didn't exist at this time last year. And to come in here when they started the season, really last year, started running in July, and just run up stuff to see where they sat to come into the 2nd race of the year and put it on pole. And a decidedly strong one at that.
Yeah, Dominic Farnbacher, he finished 2nd in the ALMS GT Championship in 2008. That was driving a Tafel Ferrari that year with Dirk Mueller, who's one of the guys who's battling with here in actual practice in this race. There's Bill Oblin in one of the BMWs. The other BMW being driven by Dirk Mueller, not too far behind.
I think Jamie's got an update on the 55 BMW, Jamie.
That's BMW. Team RLL still continue to develop the new Z4 race car. They're also still developing their new partnership with Michelin. They have not found the boundaries of this tire yet, but Bill Oberlin was on the radio with the team just a couple laps ago saying that he actually feels like the tires are wearing off. The team radioing back to him saying, make sure you manage those tires. We have just over 20 minutes remaining, and we want to make sure you have enough to fight to the end. Bill is nothing but a professional. He has more experience with that team and with BMW than anybody else in the world. So he certainly has his hands full right now, but they are still developing that whole program.
And managing the tire and saving fuel.
And that 55 car there with Bill Orbin. He's got the Ferrari number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari 458 Italian right ahead of him. That is not, however, a battle for position because the Ferrari is a lap down to the leader in GT after its problems earlier on. Sandwich between them, the 2nd place car overall. Nick Heidfeld comes off the hairpin. And he's lost a fair bit of ground to Klaus Rapp in the last few laps.
Yeah, he has.
This time around, almost half a minute. Yeah,
that's huge. And it's just traffic. It's just caught him up.
Look at his experience as well, I think, for the guy in this sort of class of racing on this sort of a track.
Absolutely. On board the number 56. I loved what Johnny said when he said, it's crazy, it's insane, and it's great fun. That's pretty much describes it. But I mean, as you said, the swings of traffic, just a couple laps ago, Heidfeld ran a low 114, and then we saw he had a 119 in the mix as well. Just sketchy stuff. Back to on board with the number 56.
That's Dirk Mueller, third in the class. He's got about 9 seconds behind Bill Omlin. But Bill Omlin, the gap from first to second in GT from 91 Viper to number 55 BMW was over 7 seconds. It's now down to about 3.5, I think, last time around. So the BMW a lot closer, number 55 BMW, a lot closer to the number 91 Viper.
Now we're riding
in GTC. There's about 2 or 3 seconds between the number 30, Sean Edwards, and number 45 car, Spencer Pompelli, first and second in GTC.
On board for a moment there with Jonathan Bomarito in the Pennzoil Ultra, number 93 SRT Motorsports entry, and he has still got a mirror full of teal from Wolf Hensler in that Vulcan Tiger Porsche, who is just relentlessly pursuing him right now. I mean, that's your margin. That's the battle for fourth. Hensler, and then a little bit of room, maybe another second and a half back to Jan Magnussen, who's got Ollie Gavin, his teammate, in the other car, glued right there. Then they've got a lot of room back to Marco Holzer, the number 48, as we hop on board with Wolf Hensler as he whistles down this shoreline drive, bending, curving, flat out straightaway, then to the heavy braking zone down in turn 1. There's Mags, there's Ollie.
Talked about too much lately. PC still a 0.5. Colin Brown leads, but Luis Diaz in car number 52 is still behind Scott Sharp in the P2 class car. Is Luis Diaz, but he's only 4 seconds behind Colin Brown for the lead of PC. So that battle ongoing as well. But Luis Diaz, he does need to get the past the P2 car to get to be able to track down Colin Brown.
All right, as we ride on board with Wolf Hensler, great run for this team, Jamie, here at Long Beach.
And we have seen Team Falcon Tire succeed on street courses with 2 wins back-to-back in Baltimore. But this is a new tire. This is a brand new spec that they just debuted this weekend. It is their normal street course compound, but it's a whole new tire construction. They've done a tremendous amount of testing since last season, and they feel like they've certainly found something here in the longevity of the tire. So with 20 minutes remaining, it'll be interesting to see how well those Falcons hold on.
Well, I'll tell you, Jamie, right now, he's just watching the launch that Wolf got out of the hairpin, and those rears are hooking up, and he just massively gapped the Corvette right behind. Here are your 5 class leaders. We're going to take a quick break here on the streets of Long Beach.
This isn't just a car. It's a legend. This isn't just a family. It's a statement. And this isn't just a brand. It's an attitude. This is SRT. Street and racing technology.
Rated E for everyone.
We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of race, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Deltran Battery Tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
May 9th to the 11th, the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, will be returning to the Golden State, this time at the Central California circuit of Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey. Witness the exciting action as all 5 classes fight for the checkered flag and struggle to conquer the world-renowned corkscrew.
Keep pushing, buddy.
Come be a part of the action and watch the race live May 11th on ESPN 3 and May 12th on ESPN 2. Welcome back to the Roar by the Shore and its 39th running here on the streets of Long Beach, the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Long Beach. Great to have you with us here. And we've got a couple of good developments unfolding here. Right now, the overall battle between Klaus Graf in the Muscle Milk Picket Racing entry and Nick Heidfeld in the Rebellion Toyota Lola. The margin pushing 30 seconds, so really that Rebellion car needs a little help in terms of cautions if that's going to happen. However, Jeremy, as you were pointing out, Colin Brown is running 3rd overall, leading in the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge class. Scott Sharp behind him is leading in that Patron ESM entry in the P2 category. But the drivers right behind them, Luis Diaz in the number 52 Prototype Challenge car, and the 02 team car to Scott Sharp or Johannes van Overbeek, in clear traffic, both running laps a little bit quicker than those guys in front, and that is compressing. We've got a good battle that's shaping up here, I think.
We have. I think that's pretty interesting. Both of those classes, PC and P2, unfortunately they're sandwiching each other, so to speak. We've got a P2 car, a PC car, then a P2 car, then a PC car, then a P2 car. But those 4 cars, and they're pretty much together on the racetrack. Although actually Colin Brown must have got the message the last couple of laps because he's pulled away a bit, and maybe the other guys behind him maybe got bottled up behind somebody else. But Colin's making a little bit of a break again. He's got about 6 seconds ahead, so he's doubled his lead now in the last lap or 2.
Well, I've been watching those times, you know, while we were break and just on the way to break, and everybody was running 19s and 20s, and then Colin uncorks a 1:18.8. So, as you said, he got the memo. Ooh, contact! Hensler trying to get down underneath the 93 of Bomarito, and they got into each other, and I think Hensler probably got into the Viper, and you know that is the type of contact that is going to have race control looking at it very, very closely. Oh boy, look at this. Now Hensler looks like he may have stalled the motor, and he is broadside at the apex. Oh, that's not good.
That's not good, no, and it's a shame because that was a great battle that had been going all the way along. Both teams have been doing a phenomenal job, and it did look like it was a little bit of an optimistic move there by Wolf Hensler. I want to have another look at it before I make a firm judgment call on that, because I was kind of looking at something else at the same time. But it certainly looked like he took the lunge down the inside. It really wasn't completely alongside the Viper. And if you're going to make a pass here, you've got to be incisive. You've got to be absolutely alongside, give the other guy no option but to let you go.
And then you see the damage to the right rear corner of the Pennzoil Ultra Viper, and that really wasn't so much from the contact as it was with Hensler as the resulting contact with the barrier. And Jeremy, we're going to go back now, take a look at the replay so you can see exactly what happened here on board.
Yeah, with the Viper going down Shoreline Drive into turn 1. To the right, to the left, I should say, no sign of the Falcon Tires Porsche, and he just got tipped around as he turned into the corner. So certainly from the other side, it was a late lunge there by Wolf Hensler. And I'm sorry, Wolf, but I think Paul Walter, the race director, is going to come a-calling pretty shortly, and the team is going to get the call on pit lane to bring you in for a stop. Look, he comes from a long way behind. He's 2 or 3 car lengths behind. He's left his braking too late. I think he'd been struggling to make the corner in any case, quite frankly, because he was carrying a lot of speed down his turn. He didn't have any option because he was down to the inside, and at that point he was committed. There was nothing he could do to avoid the contact between the two. But I have to say, I think that was probably a mistake from Wolf Hensler's part, and that's very unusual because Wolf Hensler is a very accomplished pilot who very rarely makes mistakes.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't very often see that. And look at that, Bill Oberlin has gone around Dominic Farnbacher now, and Oberlin in the BMW North America BMW Ray L. Letterman Lanigan car now in the lead, and he was talking about he felt the tires were going off, they got some fuel issues to get to the end, and yet he has made the pass and gone to the front. And we're going to go back and show you how that happened, as there is now the car of Farnbacher sitting back in the 2nd spot, and here's how it happened. And boy, he's way behind at this point. Farnbacher just missed his braking point, thus his turn-in point. And that was a classic. That was an exaggerated example of what Johnny O'Connell said at the very top of the show.
Yes.
There's a lot you can cheat on when you're racing. Don't cheat in Apex. And he cheated it, missed it big time.
And you know, effectively that's what Wolf Henson did as well. The difference being there was no one in front of Dominic Farbach had a hit, because I think Wolf left his brake a little bit too late down there as well. But yeah, a bad mistake there, or a mistake from Dominic Farbach that has handed the advantage now to BMW. And we talked about this a long time ago, didn't we? That the number 55 car crew had made the decision to come onto pit lane out of sequence with the other guys, with the hope that that was going to pay off later on. We've got to see now, with 12 minutes remaining, whether they have enough fuel to get to the end without another full course caution.
And you called it, Jeremy. We get the report. The Falcon tire number 17 and Wolf Hensler stop and hold for 60 seconds for avoidable contact. And that is exactly what happened at this point. There it is. The car is in. And literally, you come into the penalty box, you stop, and when you stop, they start the stopwatch, and that's the count. And so he's going to sit there for quite some time.
And I was going to move him from 4th place in the class to 10th in the class.
Easy,
and, that's a shame for those guys. But the good news is they've been super competitive all weekend long. I mean, the Falcon Tires group has worked extremely hard over the winter, and we've seen this weekend, and at Sebring, where they had a podium finish, we've seen the fruits of their labor.
Qualified second.
Yes,
Here,
exactly.
I mean,
and a podium at Sebring. So that car now is a regular contender. Great job by that entire team and by Falcon Tires.
And Johannes van Overbeek in that number 02 Extreme Speed Motorsports Patron entry just pitted, yes?
It was a very quick scheduled stop for Johannes van Overbeek. It was just a simple splash of fuel, car refired without a problem, and he's already out.
And that's a very good point. Remember, in the American Le Mans Series, when you stop and you're doing any work on the car, particularly fuel, you've got to shut that car off. And late into a race, heat soak and all of those different variables can create problems. And that car got it done. And I want to say, you've been talking about the crews. That replay sequence of first that contact with Hensler, and then right on the tail of it, the issues that happened with all of that other, with Farnbacher and all that, the RTV crew in the truck coming up with every one of those moments, just some spectacular stuff. Yes. And really bringing us the stories. It's awesome.
It's certainly been a lot of action.
Oh man, they've been busy.
Interesting that Luis Diaz has managed to find a way past Scott Sharp. 52 car, but that's the good news. The bad news is Colin Brown is 10 seconds ahead now in 05. I think Colin Brown in that 05 car for Cordes was looking after his tyres in the middle part of the stint, and now with in the closing stages, he's got plenty of good grip left to go to the end.
And we are watching the battle for the lead in GTC right now. That prototype challenge car is going to, or excuse me, the P2 entry is going to split it. But that is Sean Edwards right there in that red and yellow number 30 Momo entry from NGT Motorsport. And right behind is Spencer Pumpelly in that Flying Lizards machine, the Silicon car with the yellow window striping and the yellow mirrors. That is the margin for GTC, the battle for the lead.
Yeah, quite good fun. And ahead of him on the road there, I think, he's one of the TRG cars. That's number 66 car. And that is a lap down David Faulkner, having had some difficulties earlier on.
Boy, and you can see right now, and this is one of the things sometimes, Jeremy, we're watching this here, and you see those prototype cars, when they're in a slow section of track and out of the aerodynamic downforce those cars generate, they're designed to run with downforce. The grip kind of goes away, and these other cars that are designed with mechanical grip can actually be chasing them and putting pressure on in the slow corners.
Spencer Pumpelly in that Flying Lizard car, the red and silver car, he's really got the bit between his teeth. You can see the damage to the front of the car on the left-hand side, but it doesn't seem to be slowing him down. And he's turning some very quick laps, and he's really got his sights on Sean Edwards. He's not had any success here in the past, Spencer Pumpelly. He was telling me yesterday he's raced here a couple of times only in the past and never really finished in contention. So this afternoon he is certainly very much in contention. Second place right now, but just about a second behind the race leader, and we're inside 10 minutes to go in this race.
Very close, and as you said, that looked all the damage on the car. Some other tracks that could really affect the handling, the effects of the car and the like. Here, not quite so intense at this point. So aerodynamics not quite so crucial here You watch as we're watching Klaus Graf as he is just trying to clock the laps off. And when he's got clear track, he's running 115s, as is Heidfeld in traffic, 118s, 119s. The real gist of that whole thing is that that margin is staying right in that 35-second plus or minus a few at this, and I think Klaus right now they're managing it nicely.
Yeah, I think they're both managing their fuel at the moment. I think we haven't seen any quick lap times from either of these two for quite a long time. But as I say, that Nick van Heidfeld comes across with 1:15.8, which is the quickest lap I've seen for him for quite a while. I think they've been trying though to stretch their fuel load, use as little fuel as possible, and trying to get to the end without making a final splash and go.
Love these onboard shots. You can see just how close these guys run to the walls. And now Klaus clear track, so if he maintains this bit of clear track, it'll be fun to see if he can get this. There's nobody in front of him this next lap. Give us an idea of just where he's at in terms of raw speed with under 10 minutes yet to go in this race. Nice, some traffic up front there. What's he do on this lap? 18.3 the last time through, Jeremy. And he had 16.5.
Under 8 minutes remain. Under 8 remain.
Yeah, that's the race engineer, Brandon Fry, telling Klaus Graf 8 minutes remaining in this race. Probably about 6 laps, maybe 5, depending on where they end up as the time elapses finally. Meanwhile, in PC, 3rd place overall, Colin Brown in the 05 car for Core Autosport. He's got about a 7-second margin over the PR1 Matheson Motorsports machine of Luis Diaz, car number 52, 4th place overall, 2nd in PC. Then we go back to Scott Sharp in the P2 leading 01 car for Extreme Speed Motorsports, and then Bruno Junqueira, who's right behind him. Bruno Junqueira in the 3rd place car in PC, car number 9, that started on the pole in that prototype challenge by the Continental Prototype Challenge class.
Watching Klaus just knife through traffic whenever he can, but obviously knowing, and that's the nice thing, when you've got that margin of 30 seconds in hand, you run up into a group, you can exercise that patience we talked about at the top, not try and force your way through because you've got somebody chomping right behind you, and just wait, get through that couple of corners, then come up, make the pass, give up the 2 seconds if you need to. It's a lot better than getting into somebody.
Yeah, agreed.
Getting into somebody. Always better than getting into somebody.
The shadow's lengthening here now. It's time at 6:30 almost, or 6:25, maybe 6:30 at the end of the race. So you can see the shadows lengthening here. A couple of places on the track. The visibility is difficult for the drivers.
Jamie, how's the fuel scenario right now for Muscle Milk?
In the attitude in pit lane right now, it's very, very calm here at Muscle Milk Pickett Racing. There's laughter on the pit car. These guys are not concerned with the fuel consumption anymore. Klaus Graf in the car right now, he's been able to stretch it out to over a 36-second gap over Rebellion Racing's Nick Heidfeld. So these guys, they're pretty confident that they're good to the end of the race.
I'm not sure Lucas is real comfortable. He's sitting up there chewing on the nails, but that's just because, he's not in control. He's not up there driving. It's in Klaus's hands. He's got a lot of confidence in this guy, to be sure.
No doubt. And Brandon Fry, who's closest to the camera, he's the strategist and race engineer. He was smiling pretty broadly. So
he certainly was. Yeah, Greg Pickett was. Yeah, absolutely. It's just the nature of the race driver to sit there going, come on.
Yeah, particularly Lucas. He's frustrated. He's only driven for 15 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a long way to come from Germany to drive from Monte Carlo to drive for 15 minutes.
Oh, did you see what was going on right back there? Spencer Pumpelly had Oberlin behind him, and Oberlin was going over the move, and Spencer actually went to not to block him so much, but just to dissuade him a little bit, because Spencer did not want to get that car between he and Sean Edwards, I'm guessing, because that's going to cost him just that little bit of time. He doesn't want that. He's trying to close it up, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see this is Spencer Pumpelly, the car closest is there. Here's the Bill Albany car number 55 BMW in the lead in GT. Small margin now. You've got a 7-second lead over the Viper, but in front of him is the class leader in GTC, the car number 30. Behind Bill Albany, the 2nd place car, Spencer Pumpelly.
I think Mr. Oberlin is, now watch, this happened very early in the race. And it put him and the team way behind the 8 ball. Then they put Bill in the car. That was Maxime Martin very early in the going. And the charge they have since mounted and brought that car back to the lead, they are going to get the Deltran Battery Tender Hard Charger Award, and well earned.
Yeah, and that mistake by Maxime Martin opened up the strategic windows for BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, because they came into the pits out of sequence.
The team has been very vocal about this. It's supposed to be a development year for BMW in the Z4. When they debuted their last car, the M3, in 2009, they didn't win a single race. It took them all the way until 2010 to win a race in the championship in 2011. That's sort of what they were expecting with the Z4 as well. They thought it would take them a while to really succeed in this very competitive GT field. If they can hold on for the next 3 minutes, this is a big leap in this development program.
All right, thanks very much, Jamie. And this, it's fascinating to see how quickly this program has come alive. And that car, it really has all the tools to be a great street race machine, and it's showing today without any doubt. Jeremy, I got to head over and handle things in Victory Circle, so I'm going to leave the rest of the race to you. I think you've got a fun one to call and a lot of the classes. It's always a pleasure, my friend. Have a good time.
Thanks very much. Nice to know. We're inside now, 2.5 minutes to go in this motor race. Klaus Graf, he leads by about 36 seconds, so in the certainly in P1, I think the battle had been pretty much set now. In PC, third and fourth places, 5.5 seconds still only between the 05 and the number 52. Luis Diaz, the chaser. Colin Brown has been chased in GT. We're looking at our leader, Bill Orbelin. And we're hearing that the next time by will be the white flag, signifying 1 lap to go in this race for Bill Orbelin. Looking here at another win, and a very experienced driver. Bill Orbelin is his 108th start in the American Le Mans Series. He lives for many years. He's born in Redondo Beach, so just up the road here. There'll be a very popular home victory for Bill Orbelin. His father is here in GT racing himself back in the 80s quite successfully, and he's initially Bill Orbelin started off driving with his father in GT racing in the old IMSA series, and Bill Orbelin, boy, this would be a massive win for him. They started off the season strongly in the first race at Sebring, but this is a battle now between second and third in GT. Dominic Farbacher in the SRT Viper ahead has it. The BMW of Dirk Müller, with whom we are on board, going back onto Seaside Way now, wants it. He's got a great run off the corner, has the BMW of Dirk Müller, but the straight line speed of the Viper, they're very closely matched on the straight, looks to the inside, does Dirk Müller, he dives out of the inside, and they're side by side on turning, side by side through the corner. Great racing room beginning by both of them, but what a pass by Dirk Müller, the German, into second place in GT. A magnificent run.
Hey, last lap, stay focused, folks.
There is a call from the SRT Viper pit, focus to Dominic Farbacher, who needs to hold on to third place. I think they might have been trying to stretch their fuel towards the end of the race in the Viper, and the BMW able to run a little bit harder towards the closing stages, and that perhaps the difference between those two. On board here now, though, with the Muscle Milk Pickett Racing car, Klaus Graf, a handy lead over the rest of the field. Time ticking away, the checkered flag will be out this time around. It's been a flawless drive by this team, and a very unselfish, very much a team effort by Muscle Milk Pickett Racing. They made the call to Lucas Lua to come into the pits very early in the race, hand over to Klaus Graf, and now it's opened up their strategic windows, and Klaus Graf has done the rest from here. He comes across the line for 4th win in a row for HPD, the 3rd season in a row.
Nice job, buddy, nice job, awesome job.
For Muscle Milk Pickett Racing, what a fantastic job that has been, a real team effort. There is Greg Pickett giving a hug to the race engineer Brandon Fry. Those guys have called the strategy on this race, and in P1 it's a magnificent victory. In GT, across the line,
fantastic Jay, fantastic drop.
The local by Bill Orbelin to take the checkered flag for. Oh yeah, says Bill Orbelin, as well he should. Into second place, it's a second of the BMWs. What a glorious day for BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. in GTC. Sean Edwards has held off the advances of Spencer Pumpelly, and he too will win for NGT Motorsports. It's been a great day here on the streets of Long Beach. There are our class leaders. We'll be back in just a couple of moments.
Deltran Battery Tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
Rated E for everyone.
We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Everything we ever thought of. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The 911. Porsche identity.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world, because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Round 2 of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron is now in the books. It's been a glorious day, a fabulous setting, big crowd on hand, and it's been a tremendous day for Muscle Milk Pickett Racing. Lucas Luhr, along with Klaus Graf, have taken the victory, the third year in a row for that team here on the streets of Long Beach. And Greg Pickett, as a Californian himself, will be absolutely proud. Lucas Luhr, he becomes the most successful driver in American Le Mans Series history with this 42nd win of his career. Klaus Graf, he shares a victory with Neil Yarni, took that number 12 Rebellion car on the pole position. Nick Heidfeld brought it home in second place. Chris Dyson and Guy Smith out early in the proceedings. They're still to be classified third, but they didn't get any, didn't get to the finish. Here is Lucas Luhr. It's a very quick day for him. He drove the car for less than 15 minutes, but very unselfishly gave that car over to Klaus Graf. You know, this is a team sport. I know he'll be disappointed to only be driving for 15 minutes, but it's a win that is the most important thing at the end of the day. And as I say, that's win number 42 in 88 starts for Lucas Luhr. A tremendous drive by them. There's the ESM Extreme Speed Motorsports team. They have come away with the victory in P2, first and second actually. Scott Sharp and Guy Cosmo shared the winning car 0-1, and Ed Brown and Johannes van Overbeek, a fine run by Johannes van Overbeek in particular. Hardly, well, no P prototype experience before the weekend, and he comes away with a second place finish here, and a very strong run it has been as well. I think it's been a tremendous race this afternoon. We've had battles all the way up and down the field, and Jamie Howe is down in victory circle with our race winner Klaus Graf.
And it's a big smile on the face of Klaus Graf. Klaus, this race came down to teamwork. It was about strategy. How proud are you of your team?
Oh, unbelievable. The guys, I mean, the Muscle Milk guys and the guys around Brent Fry, unbelievable strategy. I mean, great work, I have to say. You know, it was really tough after qualifying, and Lucas drove very well in the beginning. And we had a perfect strategy. I have to say thanks a lot to Michelin. The street soft tires were unbelievable good today. And this is a great win for Muscle Milk, for HPD, Worth Research, Michelin. Great day for us.
3 in a row here at Long Beach. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah, and Lucas Lurie only drove 15 minutes of the race, but he did get the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 13.662 in the early stages, way back on lap 5 actually for Lucas Lurie. Here is the finishing order in GT, a 1-2 day for BMW, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, number 91 car for the SRT Viper, first ever podium finish for that new car. 4th place for defending champions Oliver Gavin, Tommy Milner in the Corvette car number 4, and Kelly Stavist is down in victory circle.
What a day for BMW Team RLL. They finish 1-2, but for the hometown boy, Bill Oberlin, what does it mean to you to get the first victory for this team in this new Z4?
Unbelievable. This thing was a rocket all day. We had some bad luck. That bad luck turned into good luck, and our pit strategy worked out perfect thanks to the RLL guys, thanks to these Michelin tires, and everybody here in Long Beach. I'm from Redondo Beach. I'm your neighbor. I love you guys. I wanted to win this thing forever. Never have, and what a great day for BMW.
Congratulations. For you, Maxime, you had the early mistake. Talk about recovering from that.
Yeah, a little mistake who helped us in the strategy. So hopefully at the end it was not a real mistake, but it's good. And I'm really happy for my second race in ALMS to win with Bill. His home race is fantastic for everybody.
Congratulations.
And Maxime Martin, his father, was a very successful racer in Europe 20-odd years ago. And Maxime is a very useful partner. He did his first ever race on a street circuit. He comes away with the victory. Let's have a look at the results in P2. Again, another 1-2 success. As it was in GT, also in P2 for Extreme Speed Motorsports. Guy Cosmo and Scott Sharp share the winning car, the 0-1. In second place, Ed Brown and Johannes van Overbeek. And Jamie Howe is with the P2 winners.
And Extreme Speed Motorsports wasn't expecting success this early on. They knew that it was going to take some time, tough competition. But Scott Sharp, you guys just won the Grand Prix of Long Beach. What does this mean to you?
Even better, that's with the Patron Grand Prix of Long Beach. So to win your sponsor's race, that's pretty important. But just a huge, great job for the team. Actually, the last couple months, you know, they've been working their tails off, making the changeover from the GT car to the P2 car, and made some great changes overnight. I think we really improved our car from qualifying yesterday, and then a great strategy call by Lee, my main engineer, and topping us off under yellow when no one else did, and we could go the rest of the way with a little bit of conservative. So just great job. Guy did a great job in the car, so a big 1-2 finish for the team.
But it's going to be a great celebration tonight. Congratulations.
A lot of Patron.
That was a tremendous effort by those teams. The Level 5 Motorsports cars, the same chassis, the same HPDs, the same HPD engines. They were the fastest cars, but it wasn't always the fastest car that wins the race, and it was the Extreme Speed Motorsports that came through and did exactly that. In the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge class, it is Core Autosport once again. They've won the championship the last 2 years. There's the 05 car. John Bennett, who had a tremendous opening stint, the team owner, along with Colin Brown. And they've been a magnificent run by both of those two. And Kelly Stavist is with the Core Autosport winners.
It's the third win in a row here at Long Beach for the Core Autosport team. And Colin Brown, this was such a tight field. What was the key to the victory today?
Well, you know, the key was John Bennett did a great job at the start of this race for the Core Autosport guys, and they had a fantastic pit stop. We were able to get out in front of Bruno after the pit stop. So, you know, it comes down to the teamwork and all these guys doing just a heck of a job and save a little bit of fuel at the end. And just really proud of these guys. You know, to come back and win this race for our third straight one is just fantastic.
Congratulations.
Yeah, tremendous run by Core Autosport. They know all about winning, but I think this is perhaps Jonathan Bennett's best ever run in the American Le Mans Series. He had an off day at Sebring last month, but he's bounced back strongly. He's been fast all weekend long, and they come away with the victory. In GT Challenge, first-time winners for Enrique Cisneros and Sean Edwards, the Englishman, and the Venezuelan, sharing the NGT Motorsports car, the Momo car number 30. And Jamie Howe is with the GTC winners.
It was a race of firsts for NGT Motorsports. The first time the team was at Long Beach. The first time for Sean Edwards and Enrique Cisneros at Long Beach. Sean Edwards, though, you brought it home at the top step of the podium. How did you do it today?
It was great. It was actually made very easy for me. The team did a great pit stop. Enrique got past the Alex job car, which was the most important for us in the beginning, and then he pushed on, and we came in second, and we were leading then after the pit stop, and the only thing we had to do was save fuel the whole race. It was like Road America all over again. I was going crazy at the team on the radio saying, you know, how much have I got left, how much I have to push, because in America, as you remember, I ran out of fuel in the last lap while in the lead, so I didn't want that to happen again, but all credit to the team. I drove like a bit like a hedgehog out there because I was trying to save my fuel and tires, but great job and awesome for the team, and the strategy paid off, and yeah, we finally got a victory. It's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, here at the streets of Long Beach. So I mentioned it was your first race here. How do you, as a driver, adjust to that and bring it home?
Oh yeah, I love street circuits. I won at Monaco the Porsche Super Cup last year, which is probably the most difficult street circuit in the world. And Long Beach is a great event, great atmosphere here, great weather, and the track fundamentally is actually not that difficult to learn. And I got along really well. Was right on the pace immediately in first practice, and me and Jerome were a little bit ahead of everyone else, with Spencer just behind us. But I think the team gave me a perfect car. Enrique did an amazing job. You know, his first time here for an amateur driver, that's the most difficult thing. You know, they have to learn the track and a few laps in practice, and he did really an awesome job. He was the best out there, and he gave me the car, and I just brought it home and did the easy bit.
Outstanding team effort. Congratulations.
It was a fine team effort by those guys, and a very well deserved first victory for that organization raced out of Florida. Let's have a look at the results in the Michelin Green X Challenge. In the prototype category, Rebellion Racing had to make do with second place on the road, but they do win the clean, fast and efficient battle in prototypes in Grand Touring. Number 23, Team West, Alex Job Racing, the Ferrari of Townsend Bell and Bill Sweedler. They come away with the victory in the Michelin Green X Challenge in GT, followed by the two Corvettes, number 3 and number 4 machines. Our next event will be at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in a few weeks' time. May 12th, you can catch the action at 4 p.m. on ESPN2. We will be live again on ESPN3, the race at May 11. It starts at 6:15 Eastern Time, 3:15 here on the West Coast. That will be the American Le Mans Series in Monterey, about 300 miles up the coast here in California. It's been a tremendous day for this series. A great action all the way through the race, a tremendous crowd on hand, great atmosphere. There's been all sorts of battles. My thanks to Greg Kramer, also to Jamie Howe and Kelly Stubbs for the magnificent work in the pits. I hope you've enjoyed us, and I hope you'll be back with us a few weeks' time, farther up the coast in Monterey.